Welcome to the course. In this course, you will learn TypeScript from the scratch to an advanced level with all the concepts and the examples. We will also start with understanding issues in the JavaScript and how these issues will be solved in the TypeScript to write more TypeScript code in the TypeScript. If you are a beginner and taking this course who wants to add a new skill in your skill set, the course is well crafted for beginners where you can easily understand all topics with examples and slowly introducing advanced examples to make you more confident with TypeScript. Let's begin the TypeScript journey. See you inside the course. What is TypeScript basically? So, TypeScript is nothing but a superset for the JavaScript. So, everything that you can do with JavaScript that you can also do with the TypeScript. On top of that, you can also have additional functionalities like it's a strictly type checking, then it will provide you the object oriented functionalities, it will provide you the much more modelization using which you can write large or complex application very easily and much more on top of JavaScript. It will help a developer to write the code in a much simpler fashion and in a much syntax error free way, we can say. So let's understand how exactly the TypeScript is used and why there is a need to use the TypeScript. So let's understand here with an example. A developer is writing a code in JavaScript and just trying to build a website. And he is doing that, then he's pushing it on the internet, and then the users over the internet using it. Now, here, the JavaScript is known by developer. He is writing the code in JavaScript. All the users over the internet are having JavaScript in their browsers. It could be mobile, it could be tablet, PC, whatever it could be. They're having the JavaScript is being already installed. That's the reason they're able to read the JavaScript based website. Now, the developer here is saying that I'm having a couple of issues with JavaScript. What are those? Like, it is not giving me alerts for the errors as early as possible. Then it's also saying that like it's not much object-oriented way, so I'm not able to write the much complex operations. So these are all the drawbacks from the JavaScript that we will discuss separately in the upcoming videos now. So the developer wants to use the TypeScript here. But the main problem here is that we cannot ask all of your users to change their devices to start supporting the TypeScript. There are billions of users, billions of devices which supports already JavaScript. We cannot randomly directly ask them to change it to the TypeScript so that they can start supporting the TypeScript. So here is what the TypeScript plays a very good role. What is that? Now our developer will not write code in JavaScript in which he was facing some problems. He will write the code in the TypeScript. And now when he is writing the code in TypeScript, when the code is get compiled, it will give you output in the JavaScript itself. And now the JavaScript can also be understood by all the devices over the internet present. And this is the way we are solving the problem from the developer side and not affecting our users to change their devices. And here is the TypeScript solving a major problem here for the developers, which will help now to write a bigger code and everything in a much simpler fashion. How JavaScript works. We'll just try to write a simple JavaScript file here for the sake of understanding how we write a code in JavaScript and how the different variables will be created, how we attach with an HTML file, and how it will be helpful for a website for its working. And once we are doing that, we'll also check how the type safety issues will come here, how the syntax checking is missing with the JavaScript, how it is not much readable and maintainable when you are writing a large chunk of code, how the object oriented principles are missing over here in the JavaScript, and how the compilation problem is there with the JavaScript. So let's try to write a sample JavaScript file here. And before I start here, I would like to say in this particular lecture, what is the code we are writing? This is just for your demonstration, like how the JavaScript will function and how the issues we face with the JavaScript. So you shouldn't be writing any code in this particular module. What is the code you need to write? What is the setup you need to do for the ID, Visual Studio Code, for the maybe Node, maybe for the TypeScript, for whatever it could be that is in the next module. So you should just watch right now and understand what are the difficulties are coming up with the JavaScript. So let me just start writing a sample code here. Let me initialize an index.html file, and let me just use a quick shortcuts here that we'll discuss later. And here is an HTML5 syntax where I'm able to get all the head and body section. And let me just say over here, oh, hello world. Yeah, fine. And let me just see the execution of it. Yeah, I'm able to see that. I'm simultaneously also opening the console here to see the JavaScript output and all. So let me also write a quick JavaScript file here. So I'll name it as script.js. And here I'll say hi from JavaScript file. Here we go. Fine. Now I need to attach this particular script.js file with my index. So what I need to do for that, I just need to write a quick script tag here. I should mention I want to use script.js here in this particular HTML file. And now let me just refresh it and confirm my JavaScript file is getting executed. So it's a very super simple functionality here, an HTML file with a small JavaScript file here with the name script.js, which is saying hi. And we have attached it with the HTML. Now let's try to have writing some code here which causes some issues to understand us. So let me just say here a variable called marks equals to 10. Okay, sounds good. Let me just console it now and confirm everything is working fine. Yes, everything is working fine. Now, what as a developer, I'm doing a mistake here. Let's say I'm writing a very big code and I'm just doing a quick mistake here like this. Instead of mentioning the marks here in the upcoming line number third of this code, I'm mentioning my name inside a wrong variable. Is it complaining anything to us here? Is it giving any syntax error to us here? No. And now if I just see the outcome, it will directly say my name here, which should not be our intended functionality. So this is the way at the time of development, due to the lack of syntax issues and everything that JavaScript won't highlight. So here the problem is that it's a variable which is holding an integer value. Why we are giving a string to it? It should not be done, but we are doing it and JavaScript is not identifying that. And why it's not identifying, it's not a problem we can say from the JavaScript. It's a behavior of the JavaScript that it's very much lightweight and it won't apply much validations and everything. It just try to be much lightweight so that it can suit on all the devices. It's a functionality from the JavaScript, but as a developer, when the size of the code and everything we are increasing, we are having these issues from our side as a developer. Okay, fine. So this is what the type safety issue. It's an integer and we are assigning a string, but JavaScript is not complaining us. Let's try to discuss the next one. The lack of syntax checking. Sounds good. The lack of syntax checking here. Let's say I'm just saying here instead of marks, I'll just say here name. I'm just saying name equals to now in here. So instead of name, I'll just use student name because name is some other inbuilt keyword which causing some other issues. I don't want to put that complexity over here in this example. So I'm just randomly using some new variable and just assigning a name to it and just trying to print that. Let's see the output. Yeah, we are getting, but we haven't declared it yet, but still we are using it, right? It's not good. If you have learned other programming languages or something as a scripting, so we must declare the variables first before start utilizing it. And that of course necessary, right? Because in upcoming code, I may even do by mistakenly something like this. So what's happening here? Whenever you are creating, whenever you're using a new variable, it is automatically getting created in background. That's what the JavaScript behavior. But it's not good from a programmer perspective. Whenever I'm going to use a variable, I must declare it first, then I should start using it. So if I'm using a variable like this, the compiler, or I should get some syntax error, this variable is not being initialized, or maybe, sorry, it's not being declared and we are using it directly. So this is what the one more problem, something called syntax checking. This is with respect to only the declaration, but there are other many issues with respect to uh, that, like JavaScript won't provide you the syntax error as early as possible. Let me just give you one more example here in that case. So let me just write a quick function here and just name it, it's a function one. And let's say it won't accept any parameters. And I'm just saying log hi from function one. Sounds good. Let me just comment out the above functionalities and let me just say here like call the function one. I should get an output hi from function one here. Yes, we are getting. Now, let's say by mistakenly, I'm calling the function 2 instead of function 1. It's not complaining anything. Like we don't even have the function 2. JavaScript is not checking that. And if you just hit this particular file and just see, you are getting the error at the production, at the runtime when it's performing an execution. It is saying that function 2 is not defined, something like that. But we should get that error over here. So these type of syntax checking and everything is not available with the JavaScript, which is causing the developers nowadays to handle the complex scenarios, and it's getting much difficult with just writing the code with JavaScript. So here the developer should be much more cautious on all these things as JavaScript is not highlighting these issues. Let me just discuss the next one. It's not readable and the maintainable for the large application. So of course, with the issues we discussed when we are going to write a large application here with much more complexity and everything, maybe it could be any algorithm or something. So it's not much feasible and the readable to write the code in the JavaScript. So that's what the today's convention of the developer with the JavaScript now due to these issues and all. Next, it's messing with the object-oriented principles. Of course, it's a way long, very old scripting language, and it's a very much lightweight and everything for its day-to-day usage because it's supportable in all the devices. So it can't put much complications in that. Otherwise, it will get overloaded, and it will be difficult to run the JavaScript on all the devices. So it won't having much functionalities with respect to the object-oriented principles. It could be inheritance, it could be classes, it could be interfaces. It has with a limited functionality, but it is not having the great functionalities like Java, C++, C Sharp, VB.NET, we can say, to create the much complex application with the JavaScript. Next, it's don't have the direct execution. Like the way I have given you the example here, we are writing a code here. It is not going to compile anyway. You just need to save your code. There is no compilation in between, and you just need to directly run it. It means the direct execution. And if any errors are there, whatever the good, bad, you will only understand when the execution will happen. So here are the few difficulties and issues that we discuss with the JavaScript. And to solve these issues and everything, the JavaScript will keep releasing the new versions and everything that we'll see in the upcoming lecture. For now, we'll stop in this particular video, and I'll request you, you can also experience these issues, but no need to write much complex code here. This is just to understand the issues that JavaScript is facing. See you in the next lecture. Here we'll try to understand the JavaScript different versions. So in the previous lecture, we have seen the issues which are coming up with the JavaScript. So of course, to resolve these issues and everything and to perform the more performance improvement for the execution perspective or for the developer simplification, the JavaScript community will keep releasing the new versions. But of course, it won't cover the problems that we discussed, but internally to have the performance improvement and more things, it will keep releasing the new update to suit the new requirements. So I'm just randomly Googling out the JavaScript version. It's of course a good practice whenever you are doing it. Just try to cross check from the 2 to 3 different sources too, so that you'll have a good understanding and you'll also learn how to get most out of it from the different sources instead of relying only on few sources. I have seen many students who are continuously relying on a same resource. So later if they see any new resource, it will be a bit difficult. So here we'll try to understand the JavaScript versions from the 2 different resources. One is from the W3C, which is the mostly used one, and the second is the gigs for gigs one. So let me just open the JavaScript versions here from the W3C. So it is saying that when it is first started, when it is what is the latest, the first one is called ES1, and the official name of it is ECMA script. Of course, the student I found it, they are confusing what is ECMA and what is the JavaScript and everything. ECMA script is the JavaScript. Only the official name of the JavaScript is ECMA due to some of the association, something who founded that So they have just kept an official name, and in general it is called as JavaScript. So the first version of that is released in 1997, then 98, and the more and more. And right now, all the major browsers started supporting ES5 and the ES6. So what is the next generation JavaScript called right now is ES6 and all the latest version after that ES6. So there are a couple of issues in the JavaScript, like it won't support the latent constant keyword previously, it won't have the strict mode in this particular ES5. So they will just keep releasing all the new versions. We'll just try to see one of the here in the ES3 they have added the try catch mechanism. So we generally know how what exactly the try catch mechanism. To avoid the crash in our code, we use the try catch. So previously it was not available up to the ES2, then they have released in ES3. Then they were not having the JSON support till the ES5. They have added the JSON support in the ES5, and due to this JSON support, many REST API calls and everything made much simplified from the front end to all the developers in many different frameworks like Angular, React, and many more. After that, they also introduced few more new things coming to the latent cost in the ES6 that we'll see a very detailed lecture on that. What's the difference between latent cost and what's the requirement of it. On top of that, they have also introduced few of the new functions in the array and more. And they keep releasing like this, the new versions of the JavaScript. So we don't need to be much worried about the JavaScript new versions, but why we are looking into this? Whenever you're writing a JavaScript code, you might face something like this is not supportable or in this particular JavaScript. So let's say you're just trying to use the let keyword and you're writing the code in the ES5. So of course you will get the error like let keyword is not supportable or maybe unknown. Or maybe you're trying to use the array.find, array.index, which is not available in the ES5. So if you're figuring out any error like this, so you should immediately strike like there is something version mismatch. I should be checking which version I'm using and what I want to use that is available in which version. This is just will help you for the debugging purpose because many times we'll just debugging for hours and hours and then later we'll figure it out. The one that we are trying to use is not available in the version that we are using. So that's the reason it's important to just go through all of it. Let me just also open one more resource for this particular, that is gigs for gigs here, and it is also giving the same. It's giving you the when which version got released, what are the different features they have introduced in the different JavaScript here. It's almost similar. I'm just trying to give you from the different perspectives so that you should get an idea and also having a habit to learn from the different resources. So in the next lecture, we'll see how exactly the TypeScript works and how exactly the TypeScript will solve the problems that we are facing with the JavaScript. And we'll also see the TypeScript versions and all. See you in the next lecture. So let's try to understand the TypeScript here. So we have seen TypeScript is a superset for the JavaScript. Everything that you can do with the JavaScript that you can also do with the TypeScript. So I'll just write a sample code, a simple one-page TypeScript code, and try to execute it. Then we'll also try how the type safety will be covered with the types script, how it's going to do a well syntax checking, how the code will be more readable, maintainable, object oriented, and the compilation happen here. So this is just an example. Again, no need to write any code. This is just to understand how the problems in the JavaScript we are solving with the TypeScript, a practical demonstration for that. So let me just open my code window here, and here is our HTML and the JS file. That's a previous one. So let me create here a new file called script.ts here. Okay, here we go. And let me just say a console hi from TypeScript file. So of course, I'm not going to run this particular file because we just want to understand the syntax and everything, how it well shows us in ahead while compilation. If I just want to execute this, I'll execute. Let me just delete the JavaScript file. Let me open the terminal here. Of course, this you should not be doing. And let me just say here ts dot script Yes. So here is what how the compilation happen, and whenever you are doing the compilation, as we have seen initially, whenever you compile a JavaScript file will be created, and this we'll see in the later upcoming section. Okay, so in this particular JavaScript file, we don't need to do anything. So let's delete it, and here is our TS file. And the same problems we faced in the previous one, let's try to introduce now. So I'm going to use the marks variable, let's say 10, and I'm going to console it. Okay, so everything is good. Fine. Now, as we have seen in the last one, the data type mismatch problem. So if I say marks equals to here my name, so it's immediately started complaining that marks is a variable, it is not assignable to a number. So this is a string and you can't assign it to a number. So this is what ahead only we are getting the issues identified in the development. This is what a developer needed when they are writing a bigger application. And here is a what the first thing we are solving with the TypeScript, that is called type safety. If it's a number, then it's a number. You can't assign a string into that. It's a very strict coming to the its data types. So if I can make it 12, that's fine, but I can't make it a string here. That's fine. Let's go to the next one. Well, syntax checking. Again, to understand that, if I'm writing a student name here, again, a variable which is not declared, directly I'm trying to use it, it's not going to allow us. So it's immediately saying us cannot find a name, something called student name. Of course, this is not a it's a very small code. You will say like there is no use out of it. But when you're writing a bigger code, let's say this particular marks itself, I'm making it 11. That's fine till now everything. But if by mistakenly I'm making a spelling mistake here or maybe something, I'm removing s here. So it's much more needed in this case. That's it. So here is how the well syntax checking is being done by the TypeScript here. After that, one more example for the same, we can say if you are writing a function, the same one that we have done previously, I'm writing a function one here. Let me just quickly console here function one. Let me call it. Yeah, everything is good. And immediately started complaining when I'm trying to call function 2, which is not available in my code. It's immediately saying that cannot find a name with function 2, whatever it is, this particular symbol, this particular function, I'm not able to find. This is what we are getting the errors ahead before we are putting it into the production. So after that, making it more readable and the maintainable, of course, it has the object oriented things, it has the many more things coming to the namespaces modules, which will help us to make it more and more modularize our application. When you're writing a complex application, it will help you to do that, and the code will become more readable and the maintainable with the TypeScript. TypeScript is also having many more object-oriented functionalities like classes, interfaces, inheritance, after that, decorators, generics, which will help you to write the complex application in a much simplified object-oriented way. Then compilation first, then execution. So it's a good example here. It is doing the compilation first before it executed. If you are having some issues here, it will stop you at compilation itself. Uh, it will not permit you to perform the execution because you're getting the errors here itself. And in compilation, there are many flexibility that TypeScript will provide us. There is a separate configuration file will be there, something called tsconfig.json. There is a separate module for us in this particular course to discuss on that, how the compilation should happen, how much strict it should be. So overall, always remember one thing: whenever the compilation happens, it is just trying to put some compulsion. It is just trying to get all the errors ahead of the execution itself. That is what the TypeScript is going to do, nothing else apart from that. Okay, so I hope you understand how the TypeScript is solving the problems over here. In the next video, in the next lecture, we'll see what are the different versions are available with the TypeScript. See you in the next lecture. So in different TypeScript version, different features and solution the TypeScript community will keep providing us. So let's understand what are the new versions are available with the TypeScript, what are the versions that we are going to use, what are the differences between different versions and all. So here is the official website for the TypeScript, and I can just go to here called handbook, and let's navigate inside the what's new. So the latest version which is available, the stable version when I'm recording this particular lecture, is 5.1. Before 5.1, there are previous, like all these you can see, and mostly people use 4.0. All these versions won't have any major update. It will have the small update. It could be a new functionalities added, it could be new functions added, new libraries added, but the core functionality will remain always same. If you just want to understand what new things came in a new version of the TypeScript, you can just come here and see. If you're just attending any interviews or if you're just attending any new examinations, so we can just go through it, like what's the new version available for the TypeScript and what the new functionalities available in that. It won't hamper any core functionalities. And one more interesting thing that I would like to highlight here. So we have seen something called all the JavaScript versions. Okay, these versions. So as new JavaScript versions are releasing, of course, the TypeScript also need to release a new version of it. Correct, because the TypeScript is a superset for the JavaScript. So let's say a new version for this ECMA 2020 is getting released. So of course, in some days, TypeScript will also release a new version of the TypeScript to support the new version of the JavaScript. So it's not only like whenever the new version of the JavaScript is released, the TypeScript will release its new versions. Of course, for the internal improvements and the performance related things to solve the bugs, the TypeScript will keep releasing the new versions. So what we learned out of this particular lecture, there is no need to worry on which particular TypeScript version we are running. Of course, just you need to be cautious on if you are getting any error, this particular option is not available in this TypeScript. You can just go to the documentation and let's see we are using which version, and the function that we are trying to use is available inside which version. That's all in this particular lecture. In this module, we'll understand how we can do all the setup which is required to start writing the TypeScript. Very first thing, we need a good ID. Of course, you can use any ID of your choice, but I strongly recommend to use the Visual Studio Code, which is mostly wide used and which will give you a much more simplification, a darker mode to work on it and everything. So let's quickly search for the Visual Studio Code. You can just go to their official website and hit a download button from here. It's available with the Mac and Windows and Linux as well. So it's a pretty simple, straightforward installations. Once you are done with this particular installation, you should be able to see a window something like this where you can see all the VS Code. Initially, it might ask you some few permissions. You can just click on allow it at the time of installation. Once you are done with this ID installation, the next steps comes for the Node.js installation. So we are not using Node.js anyway in our this particular course, but to install the TypeScript, we are going to use the npm, and npm is available with the Node.js. So we just need a Node.js environment. We are not going to use anything out of Node.js. We just need the npm so that we can simply install the TypeScript. So how to install the Node.js? You can just quickly search Node.js, and it's an official website, nodejs.org. And I'll recommend always to download a stable version, the LTS. Don't download the current one because it might have the bit difficulties. Recommended for the most of the users is the LTS version, which is a stable version. And at the time when you are downloading, when you are seeing this course, you might see the more latest version of this particular Node.js, but it doesn't matter. You can just download the latest available LTS version. After downloading this, it will straightforward give you the next step by step option for the installation. Keep all the defaults selected because it will do some path environment path setup and everything. Don't change anything and just continue the installation. Once you're done with the installation, you might need to restart your VS Code or maybe restart your Windows machine. Mostly it happens with the Windows machine. And when you should do that, I'll tell you. So in this particular VS Code, when you're opening, you just need to go here, terminal, new terminal, and here it will show you. Select an appropriate folder here where you're going to work. I have just selected an introduction folder here right now. And let me just confirm the node got installed successfully. Yes, the node got installed successfully, and for me, the node version is 16. For you, it could be something different. Also, along with this, confirm you are able to see the npm version out of it. If you are not able to see this particular npm version here, it means your installation didn't succeeded. If it is showing success there, you might need to restart this VS Code window once. If it is not still happening, try restarting your machine. If it's still not happening, then you must Google and check on Stack Overflow the different issues you're facing and get your installation completed. Make sure you must get this npm version listed here for installation of the TypeScript. So this is how we are installing the VS Code and the Node.js. In the next lecture, we'll see how to install the TypeScript from the NPM. Before installing TypeScript locally, let's quickly set up a folder structure that we are going to use throughout this course. So very first thing inside this particular VS Code, I'm going to File, Open Folder, and I have created a new blank folder called Recording here. And inside this particular folder, I'm going to create the first one that is called Introduction. So this is my first project name. I'm saying something like that. So I'm inside the Introduction folder here and hit Open. So I should be able to see it's a complete blank. Initially, I'm having a folder called recording inside that introduction. Then I'll keep creating the new one inside the recording folder. So this is my folder structure. Now let's try to install the TypeScript. For the installation of TypeScript, it's super simple. You just need to go to terminal here. Yeah, make sure you're inside your project folder here. And let me say here npm install TypeScript, and I'm saying hyphen save dev. So we are using npm node package manager for the installation purpose of the TypeScript here, and we are mentioning hyphen save hyphen dev. Why we are using that? Because we just want to install this as a development dependency locally over here. We don't want to keep it as a production dependency. So no need to worry about that for now, because it will be useful when you're going to deploy any application and everything and make it more performance improved way. Important here is to install the TypeScript. Let me hit an enter here. It will take a couple of minutes for you. For me, it is super fast because already it is installed for me. It is just updating few of its components maybe. As soon as I'm doing this, it's giving me a couple of options here, a couple of folders and everything got created. We'll not look into that detail. Before that, I would like to have a detail called tsc hyphen version. So I just want to confirm the TypeScript installation is perfect. So it is showing me the version that I'm having, that is 4.4.4. What exactly the TSC? It is TypeScript compiler. For you, it could be a different version depending on which version you are installing. So no need to worry about the version as we have seen in the last lecture. Coming to the folder structure which is got created here, it is giving the node modules inside which I'm having the TypeScript library, all the file that we don't need to even look into that detail. It is also giving the package.json and the package.log.json. It is all npm related, these package related, not to worry anything out of it. We just need to use this TypeScript compiler for our compilation purpose. So let's create the first file index.html, and let's use a quick shortcut here for the HTML. Okay, so it's giving me header, body, and everything. Let's say, oh, I updated something else. Okay, fine. So let's say a quick heading here. I want to create a functionality here called hello world. Oh, fine. Okay, let's try to execute this. And for me, the folder structure is a bit different right now. It's under the recording, introduction, and then index.html. Yes, I'm getting my hello world here. Perfectly fine. And now create the very first, the script.ts. Okay, and let me say console file from TypeScript file. Sounds good. Okay, and here is our HTML file. Now the HTML file won't support connection with the TS, right? It should only be connected with the JavaScript file. So we'll do that conversion. And before that, how we can compile this TS file, we'll see first. So here's my TS file, which is saying simple console log. Let me just compile it with the TSC. You can just observe here TSC, I'm mentioning. Let me just make it up. So TSC, I'm saying the script.ts file I want to compile. It's giving some issues here. Oh, there is a spell mistake in the script here. Give me a second. Oh, it's again wrong. Yeah, script.ts, and let's try to run it now. Yeah, the compilation is successful. As soon as we are doing this, very first thing you should observe, you are getting an automated JS file. And this is what the magic of the TypeScript. Let me again delete this particular JS file. Hit the tsc script.ts. Compilation is completed and your JS file is ready. Now I can use this JS file to attach inside my HTML. Let's do that. Script source, and I want to use the script.js here. And let's see the outcome. Yes, hi from the TypeScript file. So the code we are writing in the TypeScript is getting compiled to the JavaScript, and then our website is working. And this is what we have seen in the initial lectures, how the developer is writing code in TypeScript and getting converted to the JavaScript, and then we are using it in an HTML automated way. So here is the magic from the TypeScript of JavaScript conversion. One good extension that you should apply while writing the code, that is Prettier, which is a code formatter. It will help you to format your code no matters how many spaces you are giving, how many extra lines you're putting over here. It will automatically format your code. Let's see a quick example. So here I'm giving a lot of lines extra, then also the extra spaces, extra tabs and everything. So the code won't look much nice with this. And when we are writing a large lines of code, it will be a big mess with this. So of course we need a code formatter which will systematically format all these lines and code with proper indentation and the proper extra removal of the lines. So you need to go to the extensions here and let's search for Prettier. Yeah, Prettier code formatter. So this is one of the well-known code formatter that is being used by many developers across the globe. Let's install it. Yeah, perfect. And now let's come back to this particular HTML file. As soon as you're coming here, you just need to right click and click on the format document. As soon as you do, so for me, it was already previously installed and the previous settings was there. So it was not asking me which formatter I want to use. So for you, something like this option will be visible. So which one you want to keep it as a default. So for me, already the Prettier code formatter is a default one. So for you, it will ask with this window. So you just need to click on Prettier and your document will be formatted. So now no matter how many extra lines, how bad indentation you are using, you just need to right click and click on the format document, or you may use the shortcut here. Let me use from my keyboard now. So, okay, 1 second. I'm just missing with the shortcut, I guess. Yeah, it's done. So from mouse, right click, format, and you can also use the keyboard shortcut. So when your teammates are also using the same code formatter, so no matter how bad indentation habits all the developers are having, if all of you are using the Prettier, so for everyone the code will look similar, and the review process when you will look the code of any other developer and everything, it will be very easy for your understanding. So it's an optional one, it's not a compulsory, but it's better to use, and we are going to use this throughout the project. One more good extension that we can use, that is material icon theme. So whenever you're using these files and everything, in front of these files you might be observing here it's showing the ts, shows that it's a TypeScript file. With the brackets it's showing it's a JSON. With these opening and closing brackets it's showing it's an HTML file. So it's a bit confusing here. It's a default one that is coming with the VS Code. So we can use some additional extension here to have the symbols in a much more different way and a more meaningful way. So let's go to extension here and search for material. Yeah, material icon theme. So you just need to install it. Yeah, and the by default, I want to use the material icon theme. It is also giving me the option to select the previous one, that is the VS Code default. So I'm selecting the material icon theme. That's it. And now if I open my file explorer here, you can see it is showing it's a TS file, it's a JSON, it's a JSON, it's an HTML. So it's a pretty straightforward. I don't need to even look at the extension here. By looking at these symbols and icons, I can easily understand. It will help me when I'm creating the thousands of file. So the working will be more simpler when we are having more colorful icons and everything like this. So just an easy identification, nothing more compulsion. It's a complete optional one for you as well, but it's better to use. Basic compilation. In this particular module, we are going to learn how the compilation for the TypeScript works. So there are some necessary files like tsconfig.json, which will help us for the compilation configuration, how we can initialize this particular file, how we can set up a watch mode. And in this particular tsconfig.json file, where we can set up the configurations for the compilation, it provides different variables and different flags to us, which will help us to customize the compilation behavior. Of course, we are going to see the basic compilation behavior here in this particular module. And once we have gone through all the detail and the working in the upcoming module for the TypeScript, we have also having one more advanced module where we are going to see the advanced compilation, where we can put much more type-based restriction and many more other factors are there that will help us to write a better TypeScript code and compile it in a more efficient way. Let's understand here something called as watch mode. So we have seen how to compile a TypeScript file into the JavaScript, but every time we are doing this particular compilation manually. So how we can automate that? So for that, there is a facility given by the TypeScript compiler that is something called as watch mode. So here is our TS file where we are writing hi from the TypeScript file, and I first need to compile it, and I need to mention which particular file I want to compile. Out of that, the JavaScript file will come up, and then we are attaching it to the HTML, and then we can see our output, this one. But let's see now I'm changing here something called updated. Let's save it. And if I want to go here and check, it will not give me the updated JavaScript because I have to again do a compilation here. Then if I go here and check, it will be an updated one. So how we can automate this process? So for this, we can say watch, or the short form is only W. So now it started in the watch mode, and let me just again just update here like update one. Let's refresh the window. Yes, it's update one. Let me just do update two, and you can see as soon as I'm doing a save, let me do it from here instead of keyboard save. You can observe my terminal here. So save. It's doing the quick compilation here, and if I just refresh my page, I'm getting an updated output, and constantly this particular JavaScript code is getting is coming out of our TypeScript file. The compilation is happening automatically due to this particular watch mode. Now here, let's say we are adding one more TypeScript file. So in that, we are having one more issue here. What is that? Let's say I'm adding one more file here called validations.ts, and let me just mention here hi from validation ts file. Okay, and I'm just closing this particular watch mode. How to close that? Control C. Okay, so now I also want to attach that particular file validations over here as well. So validations. So right now I don't have any particular validations file. Yeah, the JavaScript file. I need to compile my TypeScript code. Let's do that. Okay, now let's see the output. We should get both the previous one and the current one. Hi from the TypeScript file, the previous one, and hi from the validation. Let me just make it more clear. Hi from script file and hi from the validation TS file. Okay, I need to again do a compilation for this one. getting both of this, high from the script and high from the validation. Now the problem over here is we can just apply the watch mode at a time only on one file. We can't apply on the two over here. If I apply the watch mode on script.ts here, let's say updated one, let's save it, see the outcome. Yes, we are getting, but on the same moment, if I go to my validation ts file and mention here updated one, no, it is not getting updated. We have to again manually compile. So the problem over here is we can just compile at a time only one file with the watch mode that we are using. So in the next lecture, we'll see how to create a complete project with the TypeScript, which will help us to compile whole TypeScript project, all the files present in that, and have a complete project compiled at a time. Let's create a TypeScript project now. Till now, we have just created a TypeScript files which are completely separated from each other. We haven't created a TypeScript project, so everyone was individual and we were compiling it individually. So if I want to create a TypeScript project or in an existing project, if I want to initialize a TypeScript project, I just need to mention tsc init command. How to do that? Let me just open the terminal here and mention esc hyphen hyphen init. So it is initializing a TypeScript project in this particular folder. Make sure you're inside your project. Let's hit enter here. For you, it might ask you a couple of questions. What the project name and everything depends on the TypeScript compiler version you're using. For me, it's just taking the default one, and I can see here it is giving me the tsconfig.json file. So this is a very important file using which the TypeScript compiler decide how to perform the compilation. It will decide with the various factors here, like what the JavaScript target version they need to be should be used for the conversion, how which particular module should be used, which folder should be considered for the compilation. After that, whenever the compilation will happen, how the outcome in the JavaScript should be done, different formats out of it, how strict the compilation should be, the null types, the function parameters, and everything. So all those compilation behavior, how strict your compilation should be, is everything is decided over here inside this tsconfig file. We are going to understand this tsconfig file in a very simplified way, and only 2 to 3 flags we are going to use now, and we have a separate module later to understand all these functionalities in very much detail. So for now, let's say tsc hyphen hyphen watch. So, okay, before this tsc watch, what I will do, I'll just delete my JavaScript files here. Yeah, these are the two JavaScript files. Okay, overall, I'm having how many TypeScript file? One is validation.ts and second is script.ts. So when I'm just hitting tsc, the TypeScript compiler, without any file, it is compiling whole project. It is compiling all the ts file which are present inside my project, and it is automatically creating the JavaScript equivalent code for all the ts file. Let's see it quickly again. Let me delete the js file, and you can again observe here, I'm just saying tsc. It is generating all the JavaScript file. So here it is solving the problem that we are facing in the previous lecture. So along with this, I can also mention the watch mode. So now what will happen? The previously we were having a trouble here. For example, if I'm just mentioning here updated to save, let me just confirm the validation updated to is coming. Yes, it's coming. And let me just go to the ts file of the script and mention here updated to and refresh. Yes, it means throughout my project, if there is any ts file and if I'm doing any change in that, automatically this is getting compiled all the project, and we are able to see the updated outcome because it's compiling the whole project. Let's try to change few of the options in the tsconfig.json here. So interestingly, there are few options here inside tsconfig.json. I'm going to pick up something called noUnusedLocals. Let me just uncomment this. What's the meaning of it? So it is saying that if there are any unused local variables inside your function, so the give some compile time error. There should not be any unused local variables. So when it's saying true, it's saying that don't allow that. When you're saying false, so it's okay to have unused local variables inside your function. Let's quickly, first of all, let it be commented so that we can see the default behavior here. I'm just going to my script.ts file. Make sure I'm in the ts file here. I'm not going to remove this comment. Let it be the console. And I'm just randomly writing a function here. I want to give the name called on add, and I don't want to give any parameters here. This is just a sample one I want to create, and I just want to initialize a variable called let's a equals to 10, and that's it. Fine. So we are creating a variable here and we are not using it at all. Correct. Let's go to the tsconfig file here and just turn on this particular restriction. And let's see, immediately I'm starting getting one error here. What is that? It is saying that a is declared, but its value is never read. And it's true. There is no use of this variable we are making. We can write thousands of lines of code after this, but if you're not using this, why you have written this? So TypeScript is giving you a head only, a notification, a error. If you are not using it, please remove, because it's a unwanted variable that you have put here, a unused one. And you don't want to this behavior to be happen. You can just make it false. So TypeScript will stop compiling, stop giving you the error for that. So using this tsconfig file, you can customize the compilation behavior in this way. Hope you have understand how the unused local variables flag is used. One important thing I would like to highlight here. Let me just enable this field again, and let's this error come here. Yes, error is coming, and here I'm creating one more variable called 20. It's very interesting to see I'm not getting the error for the B, I'm just getting error for the A. I'll just give you a minute to think on it, why we are not getting the error at this place. Fine. Why we are not getting the error at this place? If you clearly read this particular flag here, it is saying no unused locals. It is just applicable for the local variables. And what is meaning of local variable? The variables which are present inside a function, those are the local variable. These are the global variable. There is no flag for such something like for the global one. It is just applicable for the local. So hope you have understood this flag. The next config that we are going to see is no unused parameters here. Before we proceed, one important thing I would like to highlight, whenever you are changing any particular configuration, previously we have changed this one, right? So once you're done with your trial and error and everything, just again comment it back and keep it the default, which was previously. Why this I'm saying? Because when we are changing all this configuration and everything, there are a lot of many configurations. If by mistakenly any other configurations are turned on, and in upcoming lectures maybe some unexpected behavior or unexpected compilation behavior you might observe. So that's the reason I strongly recommend, whenever you're just done with your trial and error, again set it back to the normal one and comment it out. So let's see the no unused parameters here. What's the meaning out of it? Let's go to the ts file here, and this is an on add variable. Sounds good. So I want to say it's a number one, number two. Okay, so I'm taking two parameters here, that is n1 and the n2, but I'm not using it any out of it. Very correct. Okay. So if I just go to the ts file here, the tsconfig, and just say it, I don't allow any unused parameters, immediately the compiler started complaining. There are these two the parameters are there for this particular function that is declared, but the value is never read for that. So either you remove it or start using it, because there is no meaning out of it. We are just accepting it. We are not using it. So this is very correct from the logical perspective. We see this is something called a developer mistake, we can say. And if you just want to remove this error and ignore, just turn off that flag. That's it. Let's see the new one configuration that is called noImplicitReturns, how it works and what its use. So let's come back to this script file, and let's quickly write a function here, and the name of this I'll give compare. I just want to compare two numbers. and return whichever is the bigger one. So if n1 is greater than n2, let's return n2, else return n2. It's n1 here. Okay, I just want to return the bigger one. Now in this case, there are two possibilities. Either the code will go here or the here. Fine. So both we have covered. If by mistakenly I'm not writing a return statement over here. By mistake, I'm not writing a return statement here. And if I just save this code and everything, by default, it's not giving me any error. So what's going to happen when the n2 is bigger? It's not going to return anything. So this particular function will not behave in a correct way. So we need to turn on some configuration here if you want to check the errors like this. So for that, there is something called noImplicitReturns. So let's uncomment this and make it true. One second, let me save. Immediately, one error I'm getting here that not all the code path return a value. So it's very clearly saying that this particular function, all the code path, there are two code path available for this. One is this one and second is this possible. Only two possibilities are there. It is saying that all the possible code paths are not returning the values. And this is the way, due to this error, we are getting to know like this particular function can misbehave in production when n2 will be bigger. And now we can repair our error in this way. And for now, again, we'll just keep the configuration as it is like previous and leave it. Let's understand about setting up a debugger in the TypeScript code. It will help you to troubleshoot your errors and see how the different values are getting changed when your code is running step by step with this particular debugger. There are multiple ways in the TypeScript using VS Code you can set a debugger. We are going to see the debugger, which is the default comes with the Chrome along with the VS Code here. Let's see how to do the setup for it. Very first thing, to enable the debugging in the settings, you need to turn on some option called here source map here, this one. So what it's going to do here, it's going to create a source map files for the immediate JavaScript. Of course, we are going to debug our TypeScript code. Who is understanding the TypeScript? Our VS Code. Who is running your application? The Chrome. So when the Chrome is running and you want to apply the debugging, it can just identify the JavaScript file, but you want to see and the track your code from the TypeScript. So this particular source map is necessary for that. So make sure you're turning on this particular source map for this. Let's save this configuration. As soon as I'm saving that, due to this particular watch mode is activated for our TypeScript compiler, I can see here one .js.map file got created. So right now we don't need to go in much detail about this particular map file. We can just understand it is just acting like a bridge between our TypeScript and the JavaScript so that it can help us to perform the debugging. Technically for the Chrome or our VS Code, we can say it's just acting something like a bridge. Let's quickly create a debugging here. So I'll just remove this and let's create let a equals to 10. Then I'll say let b equals to 12 here and let c equals to a plus b. And I'm just going to console the C option here. So let's apply the quick code formatter here and save it. Here we should get an output called 22. That's coming very correctly here. Now I want to apply the debugging over here and I want to observe what are the values are coming up at this particular stage here. So I just need to hit here something called a red dot here before this particular line number 7. Yes, so we are setting up a debugger point here. So whenever the code execution will come, it will stop here and we can see what are the values are there inside C, A and B at that particular moment. Just go to run option here and click on start debugging. When you are doing it first time, it will ask you which particular environment you want to use. So here I'm selecting the Chrome one. Don't select any other one because others are having again different configuration. We are going to see the web app Chrome. For you, it might give you just Chrome, depend on the different versions of the Chrome, VS Code and the TypeScript you are using. As soon as I selected this, it is giving me some configuration file here. You can observe one VS Code folder got created here, .vs code, inside that launch.json. And very important field here, that is called URL, on which URL it is going to apply this debugger. We are not having any active live server running here. We are just having our HTML file. So instead of this, we need to put our HTML file. So just come back to your Chrome window and copy this particular path here and paste it here. For me, it's coming very long due to I'm using the MacBook. It's having some internal other folders. So just try to keep it something like a C drive, D drive, a normal one if you're using the Windows one. That's it. Let me save this configuration and run start debugging. As soon as I do this, a new separate window will come up. Let me just open that window and show you. For me, it came on a different scheme. Give me a minute. Yeah. So this is a new screen that came here and where it's just spinning and spinning. Why? Because if I open my VS Code back again, I can see here the debugger breakpoint came here and our processing is stopped here itself. And now I can observe what's happening at this particular line. If I just click here and just go to the global here, it is showing me the value inside the variable A is 10. The value inside the B variable is 12 and the value inside the C variable is undefined. Why it's undefined? Because still the processing of this particular line is not completed. So here it is also giving an option to move next, move back, step out and step in. When they step out, step in, everything will be used and step over. When there is a function, you want to go inside that function or you want to come back out of that function without going inside, all these options. So you can just do a trial and error here. I'm just using an option step into here to just go to the next line. And now I should get the value of C because the execution for this is completed and I'm able to see the 22 here. If we want to observe this behavior in more detail, what we will do, we will just stop this uh, debugger again. And instead of this breakpoint, I'll quickly apply a for loop here, which is saying a let I equals to 1. And just otherwise, just make it a traditional one. I is less than 5 and I plus plus. And just want to console log the I variable. Let's apply the formatter here. That's it. And I want to apply the debugger over here. Now I can observe how this particular for loop is rotating 5 times or it is iterating 5 times in detail now with this debugger. So start debugging. Yes, done. And now it's showing it's came here. So initially I will be 0. Let's come back here and try seeing these values. Let's mention step in. Give me a second. Let me just make it more forward. So we should get some I over here somewhere. Just yeah, I. So I is equal to 0 here. That's perfectly fine. Then it's doing a console here. That's also very good. Let's move to the next one. Again, it is coming back on the line number 9. It's interesting to see here. You can also see this particular log is printed here, 0. Now the value of I should be 1. Yes, the 1. Again, it should go to the console. Again, next. Again, it is checking I is equals to equals to less than 5, whatever it could be. Yes, the condition is true. Again, it's making I plus plus, making it 2, and it's complete. It's doing this. It will do this 5 times, and when this is done, that's it. It's coming out of the loop and it's printing the line number 30, and we are over with this execution. Let's stop our server. So in this way, the we can apply the debugger in the TypeScript file. And just to remind you the steps again, let me just close this server. Very first thing, you need to go to the tsconfig. You need to turn on this source mapping true. After that, you should able to see this script.js.mapping. File should come automatically here when you're setting it to true and saving your file. Then you just need to go here, run and start debugging. You need to select the Chrome window and rest all the configuration. And important here is to set this particular URL to what is the URL which is coming in your browser. For me, it's this URL. So hope the debugger will help you in the upcoming sessions. Let's understand the basic data types supported by the TypeScript. So TypeScript allows 3 basic data types, that is string, boolean, and the number. Apart from this, there are two more which are added recently in the new releases, that is bigint and the symbol. So in this particular module, we are going to understand how these basic data types will be used, how the type assignment will work, it is implicit or explicit, in which case it applies implicitly, in which case we have to explicitly mention, and all of that. We'll also try a few examples here to understand all these things in more detail. Before starting with the data types supported by the TypeScript, let's try to understand with a quick example in JavaScript. If we are not using the data types like a TypeScript, what are the issues will come and how the code will become more and more complex and how in production it can fail. So I'm just opening this JavaScript file. Please be sure we are in the JavaScript file, not in the TS file. So let me remove all the code which is generated previously for one of our previous code. And here I'll just try to create a quick function, and the name of this I'll say like add function. And I just want to or add, or I can say compare. Okay, and I just want to take two numbers as a parameter, n1 and n2. And here I just want to perform like if n1 is greater than n2, then I'm going to console n1 is bigger, else console n2 is bigger. Let's apply quickly a formatter here. Here. So now if I want to call this, I'll say compare 1 comma 2. That's it. How the output, the outcome for this will be, let's see, n2 is bigger, because of course we are sending 1 comma 2 here. It's saying that n2 is bigger. Now, one one thing that we should understand here, if I'm providing a string here instead of a number, will it work? Yes, it's a JavaScript. It won't much bother about the data types and everything. So it will of course work here. And ideally it should not work, because I can also give anything something like this. And let's again run the program and let's see, it's again saying n2 is bigger. Even in n2, if I'm just randomly dropping something here, it's still working and it's not a correct behavior, we can say, because we wanted these number n1 and n2 to be always an integer for this comparison. So in JavaScript, if you want to apply this validation, so I need to say here like if the type of n1 is a number, along with that the type of n2 is also a number, then only perform this comparison. Okay, or else just say invalid input. Now let's try to see the outcome. We should get now this invalid input in this case. Getting it? Invalid input. How it's working? So we are passing a string. We are passing a string. Okay. So the type of this particular variable is number. No. N2 is a number. No. So it's just going here and saying invalid input. So let's try to pass a valid inputs now. Yes, we are getting N2 bigger. Let's try it in a different way. N1 should be bigger now. Yes, and now let's also try to perform in this way. Now I'll just give you a minute to think on it, what will happen. Yes, so what will happen? Let's save this and see the outcome. It's saying invalid input, even though it's a number, but it's in a string format. So what is failing here? This is failing. And how this particular type works, type of, so we can just do some console and understand how these types will work and everything. But for now, I guess you understood how we are applying a manual validation if JavaScript is not performing any validation. And this is what the trouble comes with the JavaScript. And now in the next upcoming lecture, we are going to see how we can solve this problem with the primitive data types provided by the TypeScript. Let's try to understand the basic data types provided by the TypeScript now. So now we are not going to write any code in the JavaScript because we need to understand in the TypeScript. So I'm going to open the script.ts file, and we are already having a lot of code here. Let's remove it, and I'll just try to quickly create the same function that we have done earlier, that is called compare. And I just want to compare two integer values here. So previously we have mentioned in this way, and as soon as I do this here, it's started showing some errors. It is declared and never used and everything that you should be getting to know now, that is due to the ts file configuration that we have seen earlier in the previous module. So let's ignore that error for now and say if n1 is bigger than n2. So say n1 is bigger, or else n2 is bigger. Let's apply a quick format here. It's still showing an error. What's the error? Parameter n1 is implicitly has an any type. Yes. And this is what we are trying to understand. If you are not mentioning the data types for this particular parameters here, these particular variables which are available as a parameter here, it started showing you error. The TypeScript is not able to understand what data type it should consider for it. So let me explicitly mention here n1, you are a number, and 2, you are also number. Now the TypeScript is getting a clarity. N1 is a number, N2 is a number, and then okay, fine. I can perform the greater than, less than operation and everything. And I can happily call it now compare, let's say 1 comma 2. So we should get N2 is bigger, of course. It's still showing an invalid. Any guess why it's showing? Let me save this file again, refresh it. It's still showing the invalid. You should guess it now. Yes. Why? Because we are not running our TypeScript in a watch mode. So let me just run the TypeScript compiler in the watch mode so that the continuous JavaScript files will be created with this compilation. Let's save it now. Yes, N2 is bigger. Here, now previously as we did, let's try to give a string here. As soon as I'm giving a string here, it started complaining. What it is complaining, let's try to understand. Argument of type string is not assignable to the parameter of type number. It's very clearly saying that you are passing a string and I'm expecting here a number. It's not allowed. I'm not going to allow you to call this function. So now there is no need to write the additional complications here, like the type of n1 should be equals to number and all this that we have done previously. So these are the benefits with the TypeScript, we can say, and we have explored only one data type, that is number till now. Let's try to explore the other data types. So this is just a number. Let's try to create a similar one, that is for the string. For string, we'll do in some different way. We'll create a separate function and we'll say concat. So we want to perform a concatenation, and for that I would like to give s1 as a string, s2 as a string, and here a console log s1 plus s2. I just want to combine both of this. Let's try to call this concat. Hello. Hi. Let's see the outcome. Hello and hi. Now, here interesting to see if again I make the same mistake, it's not going to allow me. I'm passing a number, it's accepting a string. That's perfect. And now one more remaining, that is a Boolean one. So for the Boolean one, let me create a flag here. Let's say this flag will is having a data type of boolean, and I can just add a true and false into that. I can just say true or the false. If I try to give any other value apart from this here, like a string ABC, it will give you the error string is not assignable to type boolean. If I also try to give any number here, it will start complaining. Yes, and let's try with 0. Yeah, for 0 also it's like it compulsory need a particular boolean value that is true or the false. So let me also try to do one more operation here. Let's say 1 is less than 2. If I do, what will happen? If I write here the expression like this, 1 is less than 2 over here, what will happen? Any guesses? It will give any error or no? Let's try to do. No, because the outcome of this particular expression is going to be in Boolean value itself. Pretty clear? Perfect. So we'll see the next thing in the next lecture. We'll try understanding the next basic data type from the TypeScript is bigint. And after that, we'll also see the symbol one. So why exactly we need the bigint here? So we need to understand when the limit for the normal number data type will over, and when we need to start the big int for that. So let me just open my script.ts file here. Let me just erase all of this code, and let's say let n equals to some random number. Okay, and I just want to console it. Sorry, so and let me confirm the outcome here. Yeah, I'm getting my value here. The problem here is this particular n is a number. So of course it will have some limitation. But what is that limitation? So to understand that limitation, if you just Google out what's the maximum value supported by the number. So you will get to know the maximum number which is supportable by the number data type is 2 raised to the power 53 minus 1, and that is this value. So let me just copy this value over here. Okay, everything is well. I can also see my output here. Perfect. As soon as I increase one single number, let's make it 92, I'm started getting error. What is that error? It is saying that it's not supportable, it's more than my possibilities. Like I'm not able to store the number above this because I'm just limited to the number which is up to 91 itself. If you want to store something bigger than that, then you of course need some other data type for that. So for that, we need to use the bigint. So I need to replace, let me just make it 2. Now we are getting the error here, like 2 raised to the power 20, 53, whatever it is. And I need to change the data type here, and I need to say it's a big int. After making big int, I'm again getting one more error. The type number is not assignable to the type of big int. So of course, the way you mention the big int and the number is different. So when you want to mention it's a big int number, you have to say a n over here. And when you're saying n at the end of this particular literal, at the end of this particular number, it is saying that it is not supportable over here. Why it's not supportable? So you need to again understand there are different versions of the JavaScript. We have seen the ES5, ES6, and inside that also ES2020, ES2026, so 2016, like that. So these things are only available, the big int is only available which are above ES2020. So if I want to see my TypeScript code is getting converted to the JavaScript, so what target version we are using? So for that, uh, we should go to the tsconfig.json, and here I can see that. So here it is saying that I'm targeting to the ES5. So let's make it ES6. Be very careful with this. Save, and now this error should go. It's still not going. Something is missing here. Give me a second. I think more I'm missing here. ES. Okay. ES2020. Let me use. Yeah. So this particular is supportable only in the ES2020 minimum and on top and beyond that. So that's the reason we are getting the issue till now, and we're not going to use the bigint. And I'll also request you immediately change this configuration again back to the ES5, because it's a normal configuration that we're going to use throughout the project. This is just changed to show you the bigint how it works. So let me just remove this error also. So hope you understood the bigint, and in the next lecture we'll see the symbol one. Let's try to understand the symbol data type here provided by the TypeScript. So let me just start fresh here and say it as S1. I want to create the symbol, and I need to call symbol with its constructor, and I can also give a description to it, what exactly the description of this particular symbol. I just want to say it's a key one. I also want to create one more symbol called S2, and the name of that I want to give as key2. So these are the two symbols I'm creating. This is just creating a unique identifiers, we can say. And if I say console S1 equals to S2, so I just want to compare if both are exactly equal symbols. So of course it's not an equal symbols, both are, so we are getting a false over here. I'll just remove this particular line over here. It's constantly disturbing us in this particular outcome. Okay, fine. So we are getting an output here that is called false here. So now if I just make it key one and the key one both symbols, so I'm creating exactly two identical symbols with a similar description, key one and the key one. What will be the outcome? I'll just pause for a minute. So let's think on it. What will happen? So let's save this and see the output. It's again false. What we understood with this, so it doesn't matter what description for the symbol we are giving. As soon as possible, you're creating a symbol. It means you have created a unique symbol. So what's the use out of it? Of course, it's used in advanced programming, advanced scripting with the TypeScript that is used in different libraries. Also, there are different inbuilt symbols are there. Right now, it's not a good time to discuss on this because we are just learning the basics with the TypeScript. So only the intention here is to introduce the symbols. There are these things are also available that can be used in advanced scripting as well. So hope there is no confusion with this. It's super simple. It's just creating a unique symbol when we are using a symbol data type with this. Let's understand the implicit and the explicit type assignment in the TypeScript. So let me just create a variable called n here, and I'm saying number, it's a 10. So what we are doing here, we are explicitly mentioning that is this particular n is a number. So this is something called an explicit type assignment, where we are mentioning explicitly like it's a number. Let's suppose I'm not giving this particular number. So now in this case, the TypeScript compiler itself understanding n is a number. If you just hover your cursor also, it will very clearly tell you it is considering it as a number. So even though after this you're trying to give it some string here, it will not accept because this is implicit type. Already they have TypeScript is assigned as a number as an implicitly, so it is equivalently to this one. So it is just our comfort, like either we are giving or the TypeScript is giving. So whatever the first value you are assigning, based upon that the TypeScript will implicitly assign the data type for a particular variable. Let's understand also with an interesting example now. So I'm saying let n, and this time I'm just declaring a variable. I'm not assigning any value to that particular variable. So there is no data type we have mentioned to the variable n. Okay, so let's carefully observe. I'm saying n equals to 10. Everything is valid, everything is fine, perfect. So n is a number, sure. So let me say n equals to ABC. Should it start giving me error now? No, it's not giving me the error. So I'll just give you a minute to think on it. Why in this case when we are assigning it's a number, so of course it's a first assignment, it should become a number data type, but then again I'm doing it something like a JavaScript, changing my data type of a number variable. It should not allow me in the TypeScript. So think on it, I'll give you a minute how exactly it's happening. Yes. So the reason for that, if you just hover your cursor on this particular variable n, it will show you it is by default considered as an any. When you are not assigning any value, so TypeScript don't have anything to understand what data type it should implicitly assign to it. So by default, it assign any when you are just declaring a variable and not initializing it. So this is equivalent to this syntax. And that's the reason it is accepting a number as well as a string. So hope you understand how the implicit and the explicit type assignment is working in the TypeScript. In this module, we'll try to work with TypeScript with different objects, arrays, literals, tuples, then enums, lysis, union, and many more functionality. By combining all together, we can write a very good scripting and a powerful scripting that is suitable for any complex application. We're also going to try a few of the examples which combines all of these functionalities together, and we'll cover all of these things in detail so that we can understand the power of TypeScript with these features in detail. Let's try understanding the object type with TypeScript. So generally, just to store the name, we use the string. To store the number, we are using a number data type, and then true false for the boolean. But what if we want to store the data all combined together? Something like in, for example, employee data. So we need something called as an object here. It is similar kind of thing that you might have seen with any other scripting or the programming language with respect to the object oriented, but it has some pros and cons with respect to that. We'll just see how a basic object will be created and how the values inside that object are initialized and the use. So let me just create a basic object here. So I'll say the object name is employee, and I'll directly start assigning values to it. And these particular curly bracket open and close are indicating it's an object. If I'm just mentioning here 10, it's a number 10 literal, it's a number. If I'm mentioning a curly bracket open and close like this, it is indicating it's an object. Right now, it's an empty object, and that's also perfectly allowed. Fine. So let me just enter the name of the employee here. So let me mention EMP name here, and the name of the employee I want to give in this way. Okay. In which company this employee belongs, I also want to give that information. So I'm going to mention company name. So ABC. Fine. So here is an object which is having an employee information with its name and the company. After that, one more info I'll give. Let's say, for example, salary. I'll just mention a quick number over here. That's it. So we are having a number and the two string all combined together inside this particular object. Now let's try to quickly console this employee object, and let's see how the object is also visible in our console. Yep, we are able to see the object very well here, the company name, employee name, and the salary here. Now let's try to play around and just try to get the employee name out of this particular object. So if I just say, okay, fine, I'm able to get the employee name out of it, and now I should just get the name of the employee out over here in this particular console now. Yes, we are able to get it. It means we can access one by one, all the values over here. Now it's very interesting to see what is the data type it is being used implicitly. Right now, why I'm saying the data type for this particular employee object is implicit, because we are not explicitly mentioning the data type. Let's again revise the implicit and explicit data type assignment. So we have seen something kind of this previously. So implicitly, the TypeScript compiler is doing a number data type. It is implicitly assigning here. So what implicitly the data type is being assigned for this particular employee object? So I'll just pause for a minute and you can just think on it. What implicit data type is being assigned? Okay, so let's try to hover your cursor here and see. So the TypeScript is implicitly assigning a, a data type here, which is an object type, in which it is mentioning there is an employee name, there is a company name, there is a salary, and this is what the implicit object type TypeScript is applying. And it is exactly similar to this one. Let me just quickly create it. It's all case sensitive. So there is an employee name of string. There is a company name of string. There is a salary with a number. So we have an object, something called employee, which is of this object type, in which we should compulsory have an employee name, compulsory have a company name, and a compulsory have a salary. And this is the value inside which we are adding. It's now all similar to this we have previously done. This is your object. This is your data type. This is your value. It is just in terms of the object, it might look a little bit bigger, but the syntax is remaining same. So let's try to do in some bit different manner. So, okay, here only the, what we can say, the declaration part we are doing here, and let's say a equals to 10 here. This we can do, of course, right? So let's try to do the same over here as well. So I don't want to do this initialization here itself. Later I want to make it in this way. Sounds good. It's also here only the declaration part, and here then we are doing an initialization. It is exactly similar to this. Now also let's try to play around it. Now instead of giving a number, let's try to give a string here, ABC. So whatever the data type is present already, we are not giving the same data over here in the initialization, or maybe in the value assignment, we are giving some different data type. It is started complaining. I need a number, you are giving me a string. So let's try to do the same thing over here. So it is expecting an object. Let's try to give a normal string here. So you can also see it is also started complaining. I need employee name, company name, and the salary as an object, but you are giving me just a string. So if you just read out these errors, it will be super simple and clear what errors we are getting here. So it is simply saying that I need a complete object in which I need the employee name and everything, these details. So let's try to play around and do some spell mistake here. Let's say I'm just making here employee name 1. So again, here we are getting a compilation error here. It is saying that if you just hover the cursor, we need exactly the employee name. We are missing with here something called N1, and it is also very clearly mentioning here this is what I am expecting, and the one that we are sending here is this one. Correct. So if you just read out the exam, the error message here, it will be super simple and clear what errors you are getting here. So, of course, I hope you have understood how the implicit and the explicit data types are already being assigned for the object type, how simple to write the objects in the TypeScript, and how to access a specific values out of a particular object. Let me just comment out these example so that when you'll download this code, you will understand in more detail, and let me simplify it in more good fashion here. Okay, fine. So we'll see the more detailed objects and nested object and just playing around a few more variations with an object in the next lecture. Let's try to play around an object with more details now and with more and options. So we already having an object called employee here. So I just want to change the company name for this particular employee. So how will I be doing that? So employee dot company name, it's ABC. I want to make it XYZ. Yes, of course, I can change that by access by using the object name and then a particular property name inside that we can do. So, but I want to restrict these values not to be changed. So what I can do here, let's say the employee name I want, once it's initialized, it should not be changed. So we can make it read only. And now if I just try to change employee dot name from Naveen to Naveen R here. So it's not allowing me. It's simply saying that it's a read-only field. You can't change it. So we can make some read-only fields inside our object. Okay, fine. Let's try to understand the next option. That's an optional one. So we want to give information for this particular salary, for example. So salary we have provided. So if I'm not giving the salary information, the object will immediately start complaining. So salary is a compulsory field. You can't skip it and all those. So if I just make a question mark here, so it will solve my problem. So it's my choice now. Either I can give the salary information or I can't. I can leave it. So this question mark is making it as an optional one. So I can also remove the salary here now. Let's try to understand one more interesting thing, that is the nested object. So where we can write an object inside an object. So I'll just try removing this particular information now over here just to make this code simple. Okay. So I want to include the address information for the employee. So when it comes to the address, there will be city, there will be country, there will be an address, a few things will be there. So of course it can't fix in a one line. We need again one more object to store the address information. So how we'll do that? So I'm mentioning here address again as an object. Inside that, I want a city. And the city is, for example, Mumbai. Again, inside which area? So BKC. Again, which country? Getting. So we are mentioning an object inside another object. This is what a nested object. And if you now closely look at the data type, the object type that is implicitly being assigned by the TypeScript here, by hovering the cursor on the employee object, you can see how the data type is getting created. It's super simple. It's an employee string, company name, string, address, and it's giving the city area as a country, the object inside an object. So hope it's clear now how to create an object inside an object. And we have also seen the read-only part and we have also seen the optional part. Now in the next lecture, we'll also see how we can create a function inside an object for certain functionalities. We have seen till now how to create an object and how to make it nested as well and few more functionalities. Now let's try to build a functionality inside an object where an object can perform certain operations, we can say, because right now our object is just holding the data, we can say. So how we can create a function inside that which can perform certain operation. So let's say I want to create a function over here. I want to create a method inside this particular object, something called a display, and when I call it, it should elaborate me what exactly this object is all about. Let's consider it's an employee object, so it's holding a name, company name, and address. So it's also going to have a display function here, which will elaborate us about this particular employee. So the job of that particular function is to elaborate the employee. So let's quickly create that. It's similar like I'm going to create a display here, but now it's not as a uh, the normal we are using this display as a function here. So how we can do that? So generally we mention it something like a string or a number, whatever it could be, we mentioned and we give some data to it, right? So now I'm going to mention here, it's not a normal one, it's a function. It's a function which don't accept any input and it's a body of that function. You can clearly observe there is no syntax error is coming. This is, we have very clearly mentioned the name of the function, and this is a function which don't accept any parameters, and this is the body of that function. This function not even written anything. And here I'm just going to console log as hi from display. Just to confirm, we are able to call that. And now if I want to call this particular display functionality, I just need to say employee, I want to call your display function. Perfect. Let's see the outcome. Yes, hi from the display. So now let's try to play around and this particular function, and we are going we want to create the function in such a way that it should elaborate the employee. What's the name of the employee, where he works, and from which particular country he is. We want to elaborate that. So of course, in this particular function, we should have an access for these data. And that, of course, we are inside the same object, so we can make use of this keyword that you might have seen in any other scripting language or the programming language. So I'm going to mention, hi, my name is, okay, so the name we are going to take in this way, this dot employee name. What is this? It is indicating this particular object. So I'm going to take out the name here. So let's try to compile and see. Yes, it's showing, hi, my name is Navin, and we want to print more information. So we also want to say like, okay, fine, your name is Navin, and I work at the company name, and I'm from address dot country. So let's quickly understand how exactly we are just writing a simple uh, script here. So where we are just saying, hi, my name is this dot employee name, where we are want to get this particular name. Then we are also getting the employee company name here, and we are also trying to get this particular country here. And now let's try to see the output. So hi, my name is Naveen. I work at ABC and I am from India. So this is how we are writing a function which is describing this particular employee. So with this, we understood we can write the functions inside an object to perform certain operations. Hope it's clear. I'm going to attach the same code inside the resources from where you can download if you're stuck somewhere and complete this assignment. Creating an array is super simple with a TypeScript. Let's try to create a simple array here. So I'll just say numbers, and I just want to say here 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's apply the Prettier. So here is the array we are creating. This is an array of an integer. Right now, the type that is being assigned for this particular number variable is implicit or the explicit by the compiler that you should be getting now. It's an implicit one because we are not explicitly mentioning. If you just hover your cursor here, you can understand the TypeScript is automatically selecting number of array here. And even we can also mention in this way. Perfect. Okay, sure. Let's try to quickly console it so that we can perform a set of operations on this. Yes, we are able to get an array which is of length 4 here. Uh, Whenever we are creating an array here, so in TypeScript, array is a special type in all. It treats it something like an object, and it also have some certain inbuilt functionalities on that. Like we can add some data to that, we can remove some data, we can find a particular data, we can traverse on that particular array. So many things are available. And you can also make it something like a read only, or we can say and other fields. Let's say, for example, I want to include here one more number in this, and I'll say push 5. So let's see the outcome. Yes, we are able to get that 5. So once you have created an array, let's say you don't want to change it. So what you need to make it, you just need to make it add read only. So if you do that, read only, it's giving me an error here. Let's confirm what I'm missing here. Uh, okay, let me figure out what I can do with the read only. I guess something I'm missing, or maybe the read only is not supportable in the TypeScript version that I'm using it. We'll try to go with that in a moment. Let's also try to explore the other functionalities with number with array object TypeScript providing. So if you just click on dot here, it is also giving us concat and the copy within, after that filter and many more functionalities. So we'll try applying few of the functionalities here. For example, I want to filter all the numbers out of it which are greater than 2. So how we'll do that? So let updated numbers array, and here I'll say numbers, I want to apply a filter on you. So on each and every number, on each and every number. If this number is greater than 2, I want to filter it. That's it. So now what we should get inside this particular updated numbers? 3 and 4. So if you just console it, let's see the output. 3 and 4. So these are the inbuilt functions that the TypeScript is providing you. Apart from this, there are many others as well. This is just for the filter one. Let's try to apply others as well. Let updated numbers. So what are the numbers we are having? Let's say I want to get a square of all these numbers and I want to have an updated array out of it. So I can apply a map function over here that is similar to many other programming languages. So for each and every number, I want to multiply it with the same number here. And I want to console this updated number 2 now. Let's see the outcome. Getting in the square of each and every number 1, 2 square 4, 3 square 9, and the 4 square 16. So the map is just modifying the values present in the array. The filter is giving you the filtered one. So like this, there are many other operations that you can perform with the inbuilt functionalities. And even if you want to travel over this particular array, it is simplified with the TypeScript. Let's say I just want to travel on these numbers and just want to print these numbers in a simple fashion. So let me just console it with a quick for here. So it's giving me different syntaxes for each and normal for and everything. The general traditional one I'll start first of all. So we have the traditional one here for I equals to 0 and then I is less than, I'll say 4, correct? Okay. So I plus plus, I'll just console the number which is present at ith position. So let's see the outcome. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's try to understand if we are trying to access anything beyond the limit. So let's say I'm trying to access the fifth element as well. So in this case, what will happen? We have seen something in other programming language like C, C++ or Java. It could be, it shows a runtime error like you're going beyond the allocated memory or the beyond the allocated area. Let's see in JavaScript what will happen. So I'll just pause for a minute. You can just explore on it what will happen. Perfect. So let's try to see. Yes, we are getting a 95. So it's a JavaScript at the end, the convert output of the TypeScript. So as we have seen, it is not giving you any error or something. It is just saying you that it's an undefined, that that value I don't have that you are trying to access. So we are trying to access the fifth element which is not present here. It's saying that it's an undefined. I don't know what's the value present over there. It's not giving you any error over here. And if you want to make this particular compilation and this behavior more strict, so we can work around the tsconfig file to have this compilation in a more strict fashion. So when we are trying to access any particular memory area which is not available, so there might be some advanced configuration available in the tsconfig, which will help you to change this compilation behavior. Perfect. So this is one more option to loop. Let's try to explore other option. There is one more option, something called as for each. For each is much simplified as compared to the traditional one, where I can just mention numbers. I want to apply a for each on top of you. And for each and every element, this element is a number. This element is a number. So what you want to do? You just want to console it, right? Let's do that. Apply the Prettier. It will give you exactly similar output. The advantage of this particular for each is that you don't need to be much worried about what's the starting index, what's an ending index and everything, and have the memory related issues. We are going beyond the allocated memory and all these things. So there are many other formation for this particular for each and everything that you can use it for the traversal on your array. So feel free to explore that, and we are going to see a few more advanced options with the arrays in the next lecture. Let's start with the missing one in the last lecture. So we were having a trouble writing a read only here, and let me just rewrite it. So what mistake we were doing last time? So I was adding here read only for this particular variable here, but we should add the read only here for our data type. So now it's not only the number array, it's the read-only number array. This array you can't modify. So let's try to push a value into this. So you can also observe it's not even allowing me to use the push function here. And if I just try to push a value over here, it will not allow me. If I remove this, it will allow me. So hope you understood how the read-only will work with respect to the array. It's time to look into the more advanced things and using the objects with an array so that we can make use of the array as an object in a more complex fashion. So I'll just remove all of this code. Let me just create a sample object that we have created the last time. And I'll just add very simple properties here for this object. I'll add a salary here for say 1000. Okay, fine. This is my first object, let's say, and I want to create one more employee. Okay, no problem. I'll create one more. This time I'll keep the name Praveen here, and the salary is, let's say, 1500. So I want to create the 100 employees. It means I want to create the 100 objects. Will it be correct to do in this way? Employee one, two, three. No, it's not a correct way. Of course, we need to use the arrays for that. So how we generally create an array? Let's revise the syntax part. So this is the way create an array here, right? So of course, when I want to create an array for these employees, how I'll be doing that? So I'll say list of employee. Why I'm giving you here this and small example so that you can compare how this previously we have done and the similar thing we are implementing for an array of object here. So list of employee here, and now I want an array. It is exactly similar. You can just see it's an array. It's an array. Now here, if it was just a number, now here I want to give the objects here. So I just want to give this object here, comma, again, one more object over here. That's it. I'll just remove the above one. So I hope you are able to compare the simple one with the more complex one here. Let me just remove this simple one and a console log for list of employees, and let's confirm in the browser. Yes, I'm getting an array and both objects are very well visible inside my array. Let's try to quickly apply some operations and try to get out the names out of this array. So I want a list of only the names of the employees, a simple string of array I can say. So which function will be useful, either the map or the filter? Yes, of course, the map here will be useful. So let's say I want list of employee names here, and the data type for this will be string array. So on this list of employee, I want to apply a map on each and every object. I want to get the employee name out of it. So finally, it will give me the list of employee name in an array of string format. Let's quickly try to console it. Here we go. Now, I also want to filter out all the employees who are having the salary more than 1200. So one is having the 1000 and one more is having the 1500. So I want to filter out all the people who are having more than 1200. So I want to apply a filter function here on top of my array. So I'll say uh, list of employee. I'll just give the name of the array as updated here. List of employee dot filter. On each and every object, I want to apply the condition. What should be the condition? The object, what is the salary is present inside that particular object? If this salary is more than 1200 rupees, so I want to apply a filter there. And now I should only get the people who are having the salary more than 1200, only that objects I'll be getting inside this updated array here. Let's see the outcome. So I'm just getting an array which is having a single value inside it, single object inside it, and the object is this one, the employees who is having the 1500 salary. Let's try to also add one more employee here. with 1700. So right now I should get the two employees inside this particular filter array. Yes, we are getting it. Right. So this is the way we can combine the objects with the arrays and create the more complex scenarios. Okay, fine. So there is one more option that I would like to introduce with this in arrays, that is the destructuring that we are going to see in the next lecture. What is array destructuring? So for that, let's understand with a quick example here. So generally we mention array in this way. Okay, so this is array which is holding just two numbers. That's absolutely fine. Let's console it. Yeah, perfect. But now, if we want to get these array values inside some separate variables, if there is a need, such kind of that, so the destructuring will help you. So instead of just writing here the array something like this, you can mention n1 comma n2. What is this n1? It is trying to hold the value 1. What is n2? It is trying to hold the value of 2. And now you can use n1 and the n2 as a numbers directly. So let me just console n1 and the n2 here. That's it. You can also combine with some other data types. Let's say I'm giving here the names and here the person 1. I can make it person 2. Just trying to console. So it makes sense in this case because we want to get it in separately with different variables, the names. Fine, sure. There are other ways also to define the array. This is something a shorthand way to define an array. Let me just introduce you one more. So generally we define an array in this way, right? You can also make it instead of this. Let me just comment it out so that you can compare it later. I can say new array. This is with a constructor. Of course, it's also creating an array object here in the previous case also, but that in background the TypeScript is doing for you. But and this is what at the end the TypeScript will do in background. And right now this is you are doing. So this is just a shorthand way for our simplification, but in background these things will happen. So this array is created with a constructor. So hope it's pretty clear. We have seen two things here, the array destructuring and the creating an array with a constructor. Next, we'll try to understand the union types. So let's try with a quick example here. So I would just want to store a number here in an variable. So the syntax for that is like we have to compulsory mention like it's a number and it can only store a number here. But what if either I can store here a number or a string? I want to keep both as an optional. Both are the possibilities. So what I can do here, I can just apply a union operator and I can say a string. It means the data type is either the number or string. It can be anything. So if I'm just mentioning here number 10, no problem. Even though if I'm mentioning a string here, no problem. Both are allowed because the data type we have mentioned with the union. So how exactly it will be useful and what will be its benefits? Let's say try to create a function here with the name display and the parameter we are not sure either what data type we are going to get, either string or integer or wait, anything. It could be array, anything it could be. So let's say initially I'm just giving a string here and I just want to console here this param. So the role of this particular function that we created is such a way that whatever the input we are giving, it will just console it on the screen. So let's call this function display and give a parameter ABC. So let's see the outcome now. Okay, fine. We are able to see the output. Let's see the same function now we would like to call with an integer. Will it be possible? No, because it's compulsory accept a string. So if I want to call with a number input here, it's not possible. If I want to do that, I need to apply a union operator here and mention with num string, it also accepts a number. So now both are allowed and both will work very correctly. Fine. Next, we can also make it more complicated. Let's say we can give an array here, we can give anything object also, many more other combinations we can put. Let's say I also want to give in this case true and false here. So right now it's not allowing me because it's saying that either the string or number is only allowed. So if I want to make it a boolean also supportable, I need to make it this way. So this is how the union type will help you to combine the different types together and create a large number of possibilities. So here is a quick question I would like to ask you people now. Let's say I'm passing a string. It's perfectly okay. So along with this particular console, I also want to console the length of this parameter. Will it be possible here? No. Why? Because the length is only applicable when there is a string. But here, apart from string, there is a number, there is a boolean also. So if I remove this, now it will allow me to have the length. I guess I have done some mistake here. Let me just confirm. Yeah, length. But when I'm making it as a number, immediately it is started complaining me length is not an allowed property over a number because it's not only string, it's also a number here. So how to get rid out of this particular issues and everything. So you can write again manual validation for which data type we are having and forcefully converting that. And then we can use these function. But these are the few restrictions will come into picture when we are going to use the union types here. So hope you understood how the union types will work. So Enums is a specialized class, we can say, which define a set of constants in that. And let's see how it will be useful with a quick example here. So let me just create a quick enum here. Enum, and the name of the enum, I want to give, suppose, log level. Okay. And what are the logs I want to put into that? For example, the log is regarding an error. The log is regarding just an information or it's just a warning, we can say. Okay, so we are creating a log of three different types here, that is error, info, and the warning. So these are just three constants we are creating because we are going to write application which is going to display the different logs and what type of log it is, what's the level of it, it's an error, it's an information, or it's a warning. So we will use this enum to write this particular logic here. I'm going to quickly write a function here. Name of the function will be display log. Very first thing, what's the type of this particular log? Like, what's the level of this? So log level will be my variable, and the data type for this will be this enum. So the log level must be given from this enum itself. The second parameter for this, I'll give the message. What's the message for this particular log? And this will be of type string. Perfect. Sure. So let me just do a quick console here. And with console, firstly, I'll display the, let me just say if, okay, we'll just complete the execution first. Display log. The first parameter should be the log level. This is of type info, for example. Uh, all good. Let's try to see the output. Yes, it's giving an all good. So this is my first parameter. This is my second parameter. So the log level we have given as info, and we are just printing the message here. But here, let's say I want to apply some conditions. What is that? If the log level is equals to the error. So what I'm supposed to do before this particular message, I'm going to say error. and then I'll print my message. Again, I'll do the same thing for the second one. If it's an info, the log type I'll give as info. And for the last also, it's a warning. Okay, sounds good. So for each different types of log, it is prefixing with some label here. It's an error, it's an info, or it's a warning, and then it's printing a message. So let's try to call this multiple times. So let's say this time we're calling it for an error, uh, array index issue log, and here it's a warning, all code path not covered. This sample logs I want to print three different logs. It's a good log, it's a error related log, and it's a warning related log. So if I just go to the output here, so in front of each and every log, very perfectly I'm able to see it's an information log, it's an error log, it's a warning log here. So it will be helpful to communicate the different constants very easily with the use of these enums here. There are many use of enums as well, and different variations of the enums also we can use with string, numeric. Also, we can combine with the string and numeric, and all together combine to have a more complex functionality as well. Let's try to investigate the enums in more detail, what exactly the values it contains in background. So let's say this is a log level we have created. So I just want to randomly console, and I'll just comment out the previous consoles here, and I want to see what exactly the value of this particular error when I'm consoling it. It's giving me 0. Interesting. Let's try to see for others as well. 0, 1, 2. So what we understood with this, so by default in background it is storing the numbers when we are saying it as a constant 0, 1, 2. So with this sequence, and even if you hover your cursor here, it is giving you 0, 1, 2. So a quick question over here. So if I just make it 6, 10, 15, and I'll just uncomment these functionalities here, is the behavior or the output of this particular program will change, or it will work exactly the similar fashion that previously worked in the last lecture? I'll just give you a minute to think on it. Let's see the outcome. All good info, error, index issue, and all code path not covered for the warning. It's working exactly similar. So it doesn't matter what exactly the constants are given over here, 0, or it could be 1, or it could be 2, whatever it could be, we are giving the constants here. Whenever we are using it, we are just using these constants. We are not using these values at all. Even you can see while passing also, I'm passing the constant, I'm passing the enum. While receiving also, I'm receiving the enum. While comparing also, I'm comparing the enum itself. It doesn't matter what exactly the actual value inside that particular enum. There are other enums also, like which will be more useful, and you can see in the practical usage, like HTTP status, we can say. In HTTP status, for example, there will be bad request. For bad request, I guess it's 400, and after that there is something called as internal server error. For internal server error, there is something called 500. So this will be useful when we want to use in this way, because right now making it 0, 10, or 15 for this error and for something maybe doesn't make sense, but when you're using it practically, it makes sense here, and it will be useful because it is also linked with other functionalities. For example, when we are saying bad request, it is not just bad request, we'll also need this particular 400 value to also communicate with other libraries and everything. And not only something like this, we can just assign an integer to this. We can also assign a string. So enum, let's say directions. I'll just say up. So up. then sit down. So hope you have understood now. We can assign any constants values that we need as per our logic. So rest all, everything will be similar. And with this, we have completed the enums. We have seen enums with integer, enums with giving the manual integer values to it, giving the string values to it, using it practically with display log functions here, and many more. Let's understand the declaration with let in more detail and what's the difference between let, var, and the constant. So a variable declaration can be done with three different types in TypeScript here. So first one is var, then we can do with let, and then constant. Everyone have its own usage. So initially, let me just try with var here. So var a equals to 10. Let me just give a quick console. Okay, I should get 10 here. Yes, we are getting. Now, let's say if I'm adding some business logic here, if it's true, I'm just trying to create a block here so that we can write some more code here, and I'm going to have some separate business logic here for some certain operation. And here, for writing this particular business logic here, I need to create few more variables where again I'm creating the variable a and making it 11. So I'm creating a separate variable a here and trying to use it in the logic which is inside this particular block. But now let's understand, either it will create a new variable or it will change my existing. So what will happen? I'll just pause for a minute. Let's think on it and ready with your answers. Fine. So let's see how it will work. Yes, it's changing. It's changing the original variable, we can say. So the problem over here is we need a separate business logic here to perform some certain operation. We need to use the variables. Those variables might be already used above here. We can use I, generally for loop, we use I, J, K, something like that, right? So we can compulsory keep reusing it. But due to this var here, it is changing the variables which are present outside of my business logic. So it's unwantedly hampering my application. It should not change this particular 10, and it is changing that 10. That's the reason this console we are getting here as something called 11 here. So our original value is getting changed, which is outside of our business logic. So if you don't want to hamper outside of your business logic, if you want to keep the variables limited to the scope that you are defining, so what you can do, you can just say it as let keyword. So this particular let keyword is saying that I'm going to create a local scoped variable. So this particular variable a with the value 11 is separately created and is just available within this block itself. I'm not going to change any value which is outside of my scope. So let's see the output now. Yeah, so it's not hampering the original value here. Okay, so interestingly, we'll also try to create one more, the b equals to 20 here, and I'll just try to access this b over here. Can I access the variable b? I'll just pause for a minute and wait for your answers. Okay, so let's try to do it. I'm immediately started getting an error. What it's saying that? Let's try to read. Cannot find the name B. Of course, because it's a local variable which is limited to this scope. So of course it can't find this particular variable B here. So I hope you understand how exactly the let works. One more, that is the const here, constant, which is with the name itself is suggest. If it's a constant, C equals to, let's say, 25. Once it is initialized, we cannot change its value. That is what it's trying to say. It's a constant, we can't change it. So hope you understood the var, the const, and importantly, the let keyword in this particular lecture. Let's try to understand the let in more detail with few more advanced examples. So let me just create a variable a equals to 10 with the let declaration here. And I'll just create a dummy function here so that I can just make a quick call. And here, let me just make it a equals to 11. I'll just console it a. be very careful here. We are just creating a function. We are not calling it at all till now. So what should be the outcome? It's 10. Okay. So now here, let me just call this function 1. So now the execution of line number 6 is happening. It's creating a separate local scope variable, which is not going to affect anyway my global variable. So of course, the outcome here should be 10 itself. Okay, super perfect. If I just remove this, what will happen? Now there is no variable declared inside a local function here with the variable a. It will try to find the nearest available variable with the name a here. So which is the nearest available local variable a here? There is no local available, so it's try to go up above that. So there is a one variable globally available, so it's try to use this variable and it's trying to change the value of 10 to 11. So now the value of this a variable will be changed to 11. Okay, super perfect. So let me create one more scope here to understand this in bit more detail. And here, if I again saying a equals to 12, anything gonna change here? No, because this a is having its own scope. This a is having its own scope. That's all. Now, interestingly, let's try to do one thing here. If I do a console of this a here, what will be the output? Let's think on it for a minute. Okay, let's see the output here. It's simply 10. Let's understand. The function is getting called. It is creating its own variable a, inside which it is storing 11, its own variable. It's not touching our global. When we are coming here, line number 9, it don't have any declaration with a. So it's tried to find the nearest available declaration for a, which is the nearest available declaration, line number 6. So it's using this variable here. So this 11 is getting changed to 12 at line number 9, and it is not affecting anyway at the line number 3 declaration which is present for a. And that's the reason our original value is untouched for the variable a over here. And if you want to see this a is getting changed, if I just console here a, so you can just observe this is line number 12. So line number 12, here it is line number 12, we are getting the 12 here. Perfect. Okay. So this is all about in detail for the let keyword. Let's also try understanding the practical usage for the let keyword with some for looping statement and how it is beneficial while writing the for loops. So I'll just comment this so that it will be helpful for you. Let me write a quick index here. Index equals to 5. Let's say I'm index equals to 5. Let's say I'm performing a few of the operations here for my own purpose and I'm using it. After that, after performing some more operations here, I want to create a loop statement for. And inside this for again, I want to use an index. Of course, I'll use an index with name only. So I'm not trying to use this index, but I want to use my own index variable so that I can do a looping on something. So I'll say index equals to 0 and this index should less than equals to 4 I plus plus. Okay, I'll just declare it with var here. Okay. Okay, let me just create with a var only here and this index, let me just quickly repair this thing. Okay, and console this index. What is happening here? We are having a global variable with the name index with the value 5. Again, the same global variable we are trying to change here. This is not a new declaration is happening here because we know already it only happens with a let. So we are trying to use the same global variable and we are making the value equal to 0 for that particular index here. Then we are making it plus 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 up to 4 it will go, then it will go 5 and then it will come out of this particular for loop. I'll just make it up to uh, 3 here so that we can understand the values more quickly. So let's see what's the console is coming. So we are getting 0, 1, 2, 3. That's perfect. 0, then plus 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 is happening up to 3 and we're getting at last 3 here. And when it's coming to the 4, it's going out of the loop. Now here, I just want to console and see what is the value present inside this index. So can you guess? I'll just wait for a minute. What will be the value over here at line number 24 for the index? Let's see the output. Line number 24, the value is 4 here. So we are writing a for statement, but it is changing our index which is present globally, our variable which is present globally. So this should not happen ideally, because generally we'll keep writing many for loops to have some iterations and other algorithms running and everything. So our for loop, these indexing variables, we don't want to be affected and want to change our other variables which are present outside our for loop. This index equal to 0, less than equals to 3, everything we are writing for the functionality purpose of this for loop. So this is changing the variables which are present outside of this for loop. That's not a correct one. So to deal with these problems and everything, the JavaScript and the TypeScript came with a new thing for the declaration. That is what the let we have used till now. So when I'm saying let index I equals to 0, it's creating a new index variable only limited for this particular for loop itself. It's not going to affect anyway this particular index. So if I just print the output now, I should get 0, 1, 2, 3. And after that, at line number 24, I should get my 5 as it is original. Getting it? So our original value of 5 is unaffected with this. So that's the benefit of the late keyword, which keep you very much limited to the scope that you have defined or declare that variable. Let's try to discuss about the tuples now. So what is tuples? Tuples is a similar to the arrays we can say in the TypeScript, but we can have a different data types inside our array with tuples, and we can also restrict the length of the array we can say with the tuples. Of course, it's have some pros and cons. We'll discuss with few examples here. Let me just create a sample tuple here. Let's say t equals 2, and if I just say 1 comma 2, it's a normal array of integer, and if I say 1 comma abc, so it's a tuple now, because it's an array with different data types present in that, so it's becoming a tuple now. And if you just hover your cursor over the t here, you can just understand it's an array of either the string or the number. It means it is saying that this array can consist of string and the number, both of it mixed. I can also make it something like this. And now if you can check, so this is an array, it's a tuple which can have a string, number and boolean as an elements inside of it. But what's the use out of it? So let's try to understand with a quick example. So I'm just creating a function called display here, and I want to receive the parameters in pairs here. I want to receive a pair parameter here, and this particular parameters I want to receive, the first one I want to receive as a string, and the second I want to receive as a number. And here I just want to console these pair, zeroth value, and this pair, the first value. Let's try to display this. Okay, so uh, I'll give the parameters here in tuple. So I'll just give the name here, and then I'll also give the second parameter, which is a number compulsory that I need to give. Getting here. So here it is accepting a tuple as a parameter. So in which only two elements are allowed inside this tuple, and the first one should be compulsory string and the second one should be a compulsory number. If by mistakenly the second one I'm making as a string here, it will not accept. So this way, if you want to restrict any particular array or any particular input to be very limited with number of elements or with certain data types with something kind of an array kind of thing, so you can use the tuples here. So let me just make it normal here, and it will allow you. So this is how the tuple works. With tuples, there are a few other things. Let's say, for example, uh, in this tuple, let's say pair of 1. So what is this pair of 1? This number, right? This is the first index. So uh, that's correct. Let me go to the 0, 1. It's a string. Can I make it something called as length here? Yes, of course I can do, and I can also print the length of it. Let me just quickly print the length here. Let's see the outcome. We should get a length 5. Yes, because we are passing this value here and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's perfectly fine. But as soon as I make it 1 here, I should start getting an error here. Very correct. Because the pair of 1, it means this particular value element it's not a string. So it can't have a length as a parameter here. And it is also giving you very clearly. So this is the way we can use the tuples in a more good fashion. And of course, in tuples, we can also add more values, which is a bit unexpected behavior with the tuples, but sometimes it will be useful. I can also push other values here inside my tuple. So this also you can do. So although we are restricting to a certain inputs here with tuples, only two inputs with specific data types, but later also we can push more values into it. So this is we cannot say it is disadvantage. Of course, we are making use of the tuple to restrict the parameters of this function. So it's giving us a certain advantage, but there are some other benefits also when we are pushing some things in tuples that might we can see in the advanced scripting when we'll try. Let's try to understand the restructuring with tuples. So we have seen how the tuples we are using to send the inputs to a particular function. But of course, when we are sending this particular inputs over here inside this function, if I want to print the name of the employee, or maybe this is an ID, I need to use that indexing here. So if I just want to print the name here, so I need to mention the pair of 0, and then if I want to print an ID, I need to make it 1. Let's see the outcome once. Yes, there's an ID in this name and ID, but this is a bit not looking a good to have the name here and the ID here. Of course, it's good to pass, but for the working of this particular function, having the values like this in array for name and ID is not looking that much convenient. So if I want to more simplify this, I can do the destructuring over here. So instead of expecting these values inside an array, inside a pair array, we can destructure it while receiving itself. So how? So I can say here, the first parameter that I'll receive inside my tuple is going to be my employee name. And the second parameter that I'm going to receive inside this tuple is going to be employee ID. So now I can use this employee name and employee ID simply like a function arguments, function parameters. That's it. So now I can freely use the employee name and ID simply like a local variables or maybe function parameters. It will help me to design this particular function in a more bit good way instead of using that pair 0 of 1 or 1. What is Alias? So Alias is nothing but a custom name given by you for any data type, or maybe any complex data type, or maybe any simple data type, or just a custom name you're giving. Let's start with a quick example. Let's say I'm giving ID equals to, I'm giving 10. Okay, so we know it's a number, right? Okay, if we hover the cursor here, or if we can just make it number, it's a number. But when I'm saying it's an ID, so let's say for example it's an employee ID, so instead of just mentioning number here, if you want to be more specific, it's an employee ID of, so this ID is of type employee ID. I'm not saying it's of type number, I'm saying it's of type employee ID. So I can create my own custom type for that. So for that I need to mention type, and here I need to mention empid employee. So my employee ID is a type now, which is equivalent to a number. So either I can write a number here, or I can mention this ID is of type employee ID. So this is my alias for a number. Sounds good. So this is my ID 1. Again, I want to create one more ID. So which is of type employee ID. And now I'll keep the ID, right? So this is the simple example. Let's try to understand with a more complex example with an object here. I'll just comment out this code. uh, we want to create a type for employee. So we are creating an employee type, and if we are creating an data type called employee, so it should have an employee name and ID inside of it. So I'm mentioning emp name should be of type string. Then it should also have emp ID of type number. If you just compare this line with this lines, it's super simple. This is my new data type name. This is my new alias. This is my new data type, new alias. And previously we were using the data type called number. And here, this is an object data type, which is very clearly defining like this object data type is having an employee name and employee ID. If I just want to create a new object now, let's say emp1. So I can mention here this employee1 is of type, sorry, is of type employed. So when I'm doing that, immediately it started saying that. So if you are saying that, please make sure to add employee name and employee ID, because when you are saying emp1 is of type employee data type, so you must include employee name and the employee ID in it. So let's do that. Employee name, emp ID. Perfect. So this is how we are creating a type for a more complex scenario of something like an object kind of thing here. And we are also have one more option here to do with types. That is something with union, we can say. How it will work. Again, let me just comment out this thing for you. And if you remember, previously we have created some function called display. So display, it's a function. It accepts a parameter, and it can accept a string or a number or a boolean. And the job of this particular function is to just console whatever the value we have given. So let's try to call this function a couple of times. Display 1, 2, 3. Perfect, it will work. Then display a string. This will also work. And display a boolean value. This should also work. Let's see the output. Okay, so now here we are saying display. So we are allowing to display a string, a number, or a boolean. But we are complicating this particular input data type here. So why can't we create a separate type alias for this? Yes, we can create. So what I will do here, I'll say type input. So the input can be of string, number, or boolean. So I'll say my input can be of type string or number or boolean. And from now onwards, whenever I need any input which is similar to this, instead of writing these all big things, I can just remove it and say input. So input means you can pass string, number, or boolean, and it will work exactly the similar way that was working previously. Sounds good? Sure. So we'll see the next options and the next features in the TypeScript, which is more and more similar to this. But remember one thing here: whenever you are using these types, don't get confused with interfaces and the types. It might look a bit similar, but we have a separate module for the interfaces, which will give you a clear differentiation. Of course, it's a bit similar, but there are some differences that we'll see in a separate module. But for now, don't confuse with interfaces and the types. Let's see something interesting called literals here. So what exactly we mean by literals? So literals is something like we can say just a value. And if you want to keep that value fixed and later want to just check it, so we just call it as a literal. For example, it's a number literal or a string literal. Let's quickly try to understand with an example here. So I'm just trying to create a variable here for HTTP method. So what is this HTTP method? So if you are from a backend coding background or something, you might be knowing get, post, put, all these methods and everything. So there is something variable called HTTP methods, and here the method can be get, or it can be post, or put. So these are the possibilities so that we know. Fine. Sure. So what I'm going to do here, so if I'm writing a get method here, that's perfectly okay, no problem. But people can do a spelling mistake here and can make it like this. People can make a spelling mistake and make it like this. Okay, so if you want to compulsory fix some literals here, what could be the literal valued allowed here for this particular variable? So you can define the literal data types. How it will work? So here, generally we mention it as a string. So instead of mentioning as a string, this HTTP method is not only a string. It must be a get, or it must be a post, or it must be a put. This is exactly similar to the one we have written previously. Let me comment out the previous one. So this is my variable name and this is my data type. So here the data type is saying that there are three options I have given you, three literals options I have given you, and you can use anyone out of it to fill up the value inside this particular variable. So I'm using the get one. And here it was a string, and here it is a union, and it's giving a three different literal option as a data type. Now if I do a small spelling mistake here, immediately it start complaining me because the allowed values are only these three literals. Perfect. Okay, so let's try to quickly understand this with an example. So let me create a function here called function handle request. Let's say we are calling some backend REST APIs from our front-end application. So this is my URL, which I'll just call something like a string now for now. And what's a method? And this method should be merged out of this particular three. And here I'll say calling. Let me just put inside the bucket and calling the URL. And I'll also try to write using what method we are calling this. Okay. Handle request. So let's say I want to call http://google.com using so it's giving me three different options. I can call google.com with get, post, and put. I want to call with a get. Again, I want to call Google with a post. Again, if I do any spelling mistake here, it will not allow me because only these three values are allowed for this second parameter. Let's see the outcome. Getting. So in this way, if you want to restrict the values that you're putting into any particular variable or the input parameters, so you can do that with literals and it will really help in real-time application. Also, let's also quickly try to understand one more real-time application. You might have seen the compare function before this many times, which will give you the output 0, -1, or +1. 0 when both are equal. It will give you +1 when the first string is greater than second, and -1 when the second string is the bigger than the first one. So let's try to create the similar function over here. Compare. I'll just compare s1 string and s2, and right now I'll just say number as an output for this, and here I'll just say return if s1 equals to s2. I would like to return 0 because both are equal. If that is not the case, or to make it more simple, I'll also write with if else statement instead of ternary operator here. So I want to return 0, else I want to compare s1 is bigger than s2. If that is the case, then I should return 1. If that is not the case, I would like to return 0. And this is what exactly similar we can do with the ternary as well. Let's try to do with ternary. So the people who are comfortable with the ternary operator can also proceed with that. It's just a shorthand, nothing else. So this is a true statement. Now let's come back to the false statement and compare S1 is greater than S2. So in that case, I want to return 1, or else I want to return -1. So both are acceptable. So for now, I'll just using the below one and commenting the above one. Okay, so console, I'm giving two parameters. So I'll give ABC and ABC. What should be the output? It should give us 0. ABC, ABC, what's going wrong here? Oh, sorry. We need to call, I just did a console here. Compare ABC and ABC. We are not, oh, my mistake. So the compare is returning some output to us, right? So we must console it. So we are calling a compare and giving two parameters, is performing some certain operation and giving us some number as an output for this particular operation. So we should get 0 here. Yes, because both are equal. So we are getting 0. Let's try to make the second string as a bigger one now. We are getting -1 because the second string is bigger as compared to the alphanumeric comparison. It's a second is the bigger one. So we are getting this -1. And let's try to make the first one as a bigger one now. We are getting +1. If you clearly observe, the output of this particular function is always fixed. It is either 0, 1, or -1. So giving here the return type as number doesn't make sense. It's not correct to give it as a number. So instead of number, what I can say here, I can say it will give you 0 or 1 or -1. So this is again the literal types we are using over here, we can say. So this will also help us in upcoming comparison. Let's say, for example, uh, you're doing a quick comparison here. If let results equals to, and if you just hover your cursor over here at the results, you can see it is saying that it can only have a value of 0, 1, and the -1. So when you write large code, so it will help you, and many libraries also, if you found, it will you can find these literal data types are used to restrict the values that they are putting in particular variables that you can see. Functions. Functions are the basic building blocks to make your code readable, maintainable, and reuse your code that you're writing. So let's try to understand how many types of different functions we can write, how the inputs and output for the functions will work, how the advanced parameters like default, rest parameters, and everything will work. We're also going to see the arrow functions and the anonymous function, the function without name, and all this. So let's try with a quick examples here. So the very first thing we'll start with function with a normal one, which accepts some parameter and gives some return type. So I'm just creating the very basic function here, something called add, and I'm going to expect two parameters here, that is n1 and n2, and just perform an addition out of it. And I'm going to return a number out of this. So it's a return n1 plus n2. That's perfectly fine. And let's quickly call it. It might be very simple, but it's needed to start the advanced topics with functions. Oh, sorry. So I want to give 2 and 3. So the output should be 5. Yes. So we are getting the expected result here. Fine. So this is with input and with return data type we are giving. Let's say our function won't return anything and the console is happening here itself. Whatever the outcome is coming is happening here itself. So, okay. So in that case, we don't need any input. So here we don't need any output from this particular function as a return type. So in that case, the return type for this function will be void. And if I just call this function here, it is not going to return me anything. It will just console here itself when we are calling it. So the console is happening at line number 4 here, and it's not returning anything to us. That's perfect. Now let's try to understand few more advanced topics, something called as optional parameter. So with optional parameter, let me rewrite the code like previous. Okay, with optional parameter, let's say I want to give one more parameter, the third parameter here, that is n3 and number. Of course, I can make it like this, and I compulsory need to give the third parameter over here. So we should get here 5 and 6. The output should be 6. We are getting. But let's understand here now. The third parameter is optional. Sometimes I can give, and sometimes I may leave it. So for that, what I can do here, I can just apply a quick question mark here. So with this question mark, what we are informing this function parameter, this is an optional parameter. So as soon as I do that, I'm started getting an error here. It is saying that this particular parameter is an optional parameter. So you can't use it in an expression. It must be compulsory supplied. So what we can do, a quick adjustment here. We can say if n3 is given, use it or use the value 0. That's it. So here we are giving the 1. So in this case, the 0 will not be useful. So the total output will be 2, 3, 1. It will be 6. That's perfect. And even though if I'm not passing the third parameter, which is optional, and due to this, I'm not getting any syntax error as well. In this case, n3 is null or undefined, we can say. So in this case, 0 will be used and we'll get the output 5. Perfect. So we have understood the optional parameter. Let's also try to understood the default parameter. With default parameter, what will happen? Let's say the third parameter, instead of giving it as an optional, I'll create a copy out of it so that, or I'll just comment it so that you'll not miss the code when you download it. So this particular n3, I'll not make it as an optional. I'll give instead some default value, something called as 0. And in this case, I not even need to write this additional code. So what is happening here? N1 and N2 are compulsory. The N3 is having its own default value. Even though if you are not giving a value for the N3, it will by default consider 0. And even though if you are giving it, it will accept and it will override its default value. So in this case, the output should be 15. Yes. And if we are not passing the third parameter, the output should be this 2 and 3, 5, and this will be considered 0. So it should be only 5. Perfect. So in this way, we have seen how we can get a particular optional parameter and default parameter. There is one more something very interesting called REST parameters. So let's see how it works. Let's comment out this code again. So in this case, the requirement is we are going to create a function which is going to display the logs. But the logs which are coming from the user or maybe from any system can differ. It can be 1, it can be 2, it can be 3, it can be 8, any number of logs can come. So we cannot define the certain parameters. So it's a function and display logs. And here, let's say we are displaying a log of string. That's perfect, no problem. And let's first do it in a simple way. We want to display logs and I want to give you the log. So this is log 1, for example. Let's see the outcome. It's perfect. We are getting the log 1. But now we want to change the behavior of this function such a way that we can give multiple logs. So what we can do, we can make it log 1. We can make it log 2. And in the similar way, in console also, we can change it. And here we will pass our log 2. Let's see the output. Yes, but let's say we again need 3, 4, and now we are not sure how many parameters will come, how many logs will come. So of course, we need some certain functionality to dynamically change the list of parameters that we are passing to this particular function for the display logs. So there we need to use the REST params. How it will work? So we need to add 3 dots, logs, and we also need to mention this will be of what type. it will be of type string and it's an array. So this is your rest parameters for the function display logs. Now, this particular log is a simple array. So why can't we apply a quick for each on this? And for this each and every log, let's quickly print it. So now in this case, I'm passing the two logs. So it's accepting as an array for this particular. See the outcome? Perfect. This time, let's try to pass more. 3, 4. Yes. So now I can pass any number of parameters here. Now one quick question to you. If I remove all this parameter, will it work or will it throw any error? I mean, I'm going to give the 0 input on line number 19 for the function display logs. I'll just give you a minute to think on it. Let's try to do it. So very first thing, I'm not getting the syntax error. Let's say in production, if anything failing. No. Why it's not failing? Because it's considering it as an array, and this array, when it's a length of 0, this particular for each statement will not be executed. So no errors will come. So hope you have understood how the rest parameters will work, and it will be useful in many production scenarios when you're going to create the complex applications. Let's understand the arrow function. So the arrow functions are such a way that they don't have any name, and it is something like that, like dynamically created. You can see the arrow functions in many libraries and something in the inbuilt implementation. I'll just show you a quick sample implementation for this, and we'll also try a real-time application for that so that you can understand the arrow functions in more detail. So let's create a variable here, which is holding a function that we are going to create as an arrow function. And let's say call it's an add. So I'm going to mention it in this way, return n1 plus n2. And the parameters will be n1 number, n2 number. This is our function. So now this is just a normal variable that we are assigning a function to it. These are the two parameters for our function n1 and n2. This is the body of our function, and the return type for this arrow function we should return here. Let's create an equivalent representation in normal function the traditional way. So here is a name of our function. Let's quickly comment it to understand it better. N1 as a number, n2, the return type is number, the return n1 plus n2. It's exactly similar. This is your function name, these are the parameter, this is the return type, and this is what your function is doing, and it is returning something here. So this is your function body, right? In the similar fashion, in arrow function as well, this is your function body as it is. There is a slight difference in the function name. Arrow function don't have any particular function name. So we are just creating an arrow function here. This is an arrow function, and then we are assigning it to a variable which is holding it. I'm just randomly creating some different name because it's colliding here, or maybe we'll comment it. Okay, then the parameters are also exactly similar. This is the way we mention the parameters, and if you need to mention the return type of your function, you need to mention the colon number. Now, how to call this particular arrow function which is stored in this particular add variable? It's exactly similar the way you call this add, then you give the necessary parameters n1 and n2, and here also you can observe it is giving you the option 1 comma 2 and give it, and now it is going to return a number to me. So let's quickly use a console. Let's see the outcome. We should get the 3. So this is how we create an arrow function. So this is with return type. You can remove this return type, and but you can just console here itself. So this is without return type, and in this case, this console is not needed. It will still work in a similar way. If you don't want to give any input to your function, of course, you can do that. I'll just print hi here. No need to give any inputs. Let's create the equivalent representation over here. This is our add function. We don't need any inputs to it. We don't need any inputs, and we are not returning anything out of it. So we'll also remove this, or we can also make it void here, or we can remove it. And here we are just saying console hi. So this is an equivalent representation for the arrow function that we have created. So this is the way we create the basic arrow functions. Now we'll see with a detailed example how it will be used in some production scenarios or to make some complicated logic work. Let me just undo this functionality so that it will be helpful for you when you will download the code. I'm just commenting out all these functionalities. So now I need to create a function. I need to create a function which which take as an input two variables, and it also takes input what need to be performed on that two variables. It means generally the logic will be written inside a function, but now in this case the logic also we need to pass it. So it means we are going to pass a function as a parameter. So let's try to create that. It's a function. The name of this is take action, and here we need, for example, two inputs, N1 and N2. Let's create first the basic one before going advanced, and return N1 plus N2. I'm just performing an addition for now. Later we'll make it more complicated. 1, 2, and as we are returning, so let me just console as well. Perfect. So now in this case, always there is there is an addition happening. But let's say while you're calling this particular take action with data, you also want to pass some function. You also want to pass some logic that should happen on these variables. So the logic also you want to pass as an input. It means the function as a parameter. So when you're passing function as a parameter, so there you need arrow function. So let's see how you can pass a function as a parameter. Very first thing, to do that, you need a third input over here. So the third input says, for example, the third input name will be a function, for example, and the type of that I'm giving any here for now. Just the sake of understanding, later I'll change it to the particular function parameters and everything. So here the third parameter is function. So I can pass a third parameter here now. And before doing that, I'll remove this console log. Uh, Okay, I'll also remove this for now. And here I'll try to pass the logic here. So what is the logic I want to pass? I want to pass a function here. So I want to pass an addition function. So how the addition function will be written in the arrow function? So let add, there will be two inputs to it, right? N1 and 2. And then it will return, or let's say we will console here itself N1 plus N2. So this is our arrow function, which is capable of accepting two parameters as an input and performing an addition on top of that. So let's copy this and give it as a third parameter here. What exactly we are doing? We are just giving these third parameter called function. That's it. In this case, we are getting an error here that because we are not returning any number here as a return type. So just remove that. So ideally, what's happening here? You're calling a take action function. You're giving two parameters, one and two. Super cool. One and two. After that, you're also giving a parameter as a function here. This is not going to execute here right away here itself. So this particular function will go here. I need to call function here now to make the execution happen for this. So let's see the output now. We are getting NaN. So what could be the reason for that? Anyone can guess? A quick, I'll just wait for a minute. Okay, so what we have said here, we are giving you the function. This function need two parameters and then it can give you the addition in a console. So what you are doing here, you are accepting that function here, but while calling, you are not giving the necessary parameters to it. So give the necessary parameter n1, n2. So these parameters I am passing here. Let's save it and see 3. So let's see this time we want to take some different action. So I want to again call take action on this number. This time I want to pass like 3 and 5. And this time I want to take some different action called into. And let's see the output now. I'm getting 15. So the same function is getting called, but here you can see we are passing different function at a different call as per our requirement. So this is function as a parameter we can say that we are passing in this case. So hope it's very clear. And of course, instead of this any, we can make it more specific, like how many inputs will come for this particular function and what output of this particular function will be. But that's something like an advanced scenario that we will not cover in this particular module. It will be much complicated. So hope you understood, and we'll see the next scenarios in the upcoming lecture. Let's try to understand the anonymous function in the similar example so that we can give one more variation and alternative for the arrow function. Sometimes like you need to use the anonymous functions and sometimes you need to use the arrow functions, depends on the flexibility and the scenario which comes. Many libraries use both in combination with each other as per the requirement. So how to create the anonymous function? I'll just uncomment this and we'll see with an example. So this we have already seen with a very good example. This is an input and this is a body. And if there is any output for this function, we'll mention here the return type. So if I just want to convert this as an anonymous function, I just need to write here as function and I need to remove these arrow. Here we go. So this is our anonymous function. We need to write a function keyword here, the parameters. Then if there is any return data type is there that we can write here. In our case, we are not writing here now, and our function body. So let's try to pass one arrow function here and one anonymous function over here in this case. So we'll apply the multiplication function here. So let's see the outcome first. It should be 15. Yes, we have already passed as an arrow function. So let's convert it as a anonymous function. So it's a function arrow we need to remove. That's it. So again, the outcome should be 15. That's it. Let's understand one more quick function constructor that is provided by the JavaScript in the upcoming new versions. That's not a big use of it, but it's better to just know for your understanding. So here I would like to create let, for example, multiply a variable I'm creating. And if I want to create a function, so I need to say new function with a constructor. And here I need to give the list of parameters that my function accepts. N1, N2. And what exactly my function will do that I also need to write here. So my function is going to return N1 into N2. It might look a bit strange, but this is just to elaborate the by default there is a function constructor available. We can create a function in this way as well. Of course, this is not a very convenient way, but this is one of the way available with the JavaScript that is supported by the Typescript. So we are understanding it. So let's try to call this multi function, pass the parameter like 10 comma 4. It should be 40. Let's see the outcome. No, What could be the reason? Any guesses? Yes. So we are passing as a return. We are not doing a console. So let's do a quick console here. We should be getting 40. So few things for just for the observation here, we are not specifying the data type because it's a pure JavaScript. Then while calling also, if I'm giving a string here, it is not giving me any errors because we are not specifying what data type this N1 and N2 are having. So this is much behaving similar to the JavaScript. So in this case, what could be the outcome? I'll just take a pause for a minute so that you can think on it. Okay, so let's see the output. It's again 40. Okay, it's a multiplication operation. Maybe it's getting considered as a string to integer when we are performing a multiplication. Let's try to perform an addition here. It should be 104. Okay. So it doesn't matter what data we are passing and everything because it's not checking the data types. And of course, with that, let's try to do some mistakes here with the written spelling or blah 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 something. So again, in compile time, we are not getting any errors because this is not getting compiled checked with the TypeScript because this is in the double quotes and this is not a direct execution at compile time can be identified. So let's save this and see at runtime we should get some runtime error. So of course we are getting some runtime error due to this. So we are done with maximum possibilities that a function can be called with different parameters, with different return types, arrow function, optional parameters with that, rest parameters, and these all combined together will be used to build the great application. And you can see in different libraries, the different type of functions will be used that you have learned till now. Let's understand the typecasting in the TypeScript. So why the typecasting is necessary? So typecasting is necessary when the TypeScript won't automatically convert the data type and it does when there is no data loss. But if there are any chances of the data loss of the for converting from one data type to the another data type, we have to explicitly do the typecasting. And when we take the data from the user or when the data is coming from the internet, from API or maybe other different libraries or some other third-party sources. So there we have to apply some typecasting so that we can convert that data to a specific format, to a specific data type to perform next operation. So let's understand this with a small example. I'll just create a function here which displays the length of the input given by the user. So let's consider this is an input that user is given, and we are just consoling the length of this input like this. Let's quickly call this display length and then let's say ABC. Okay, so we should get an output 3. Perfect. But in this case, now instead of this, I'll pass a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like this. So in this case, what is happening? It is not allowing me a call. So I need to update the input to a union type. So the input can be of string or number. So when I'm doing that, I'm solving one problem that I can call with a string or a number. But with that, I'm also introducing one more problem. So this input can be of string or number. So I can't use the length because it's a number. So in that case, we can't call the length on the number data type. So that's the reason it's not allowing us. So what we can do here, we can do a typecasting. So we can say this input should be considered as string. Super simple. So even though it's a string or number, doesn't matter. It is helping us here to accept the different parameters of type input, string or the number. At the end, when we are calculating the length of it, we are considering it as a string only. So when we are doing this, this particular input is converted to a string data type. And that's the reason it is allowing us to have the length calculation for that. So let's see the outcome now. We should get 3 and the 5. So we are getting an undefined over here, and that's a valid reason. Why we are getting an undefined? We are passing a number here. We are passing a number. Of course, you are forcefully converting a number to a string, but you cannot calculate the length for that. So it's not a correct way to calculate the length in this way by a forceful conversion. So what we will do, we'll just say if the type of my input, if it's string, then only perform this length calculation. Otherwise, otherwise mention, sorry, length calculation is possible for string only. Super simple. Let's see the outcome now. Yes. So for integer, we are getting this message, and for the string, we are getting very perfectly the output. So we are passing string or number, it's getting converted here as a string, and we are calculating the length out of that. So here is a way like we should use the typecasting. Sometimes we will lose some data when we do the typecasting. So we should be very much careful, and generally it will be useful when you get the data from the REST API calls, because it comes with the JSON, then you might need to be converted to the array of object or some other objects and something. So this typecasting is very helpful, but it's very risky because sometimes you may lose some data when doing this typecasting. So be very careful on this. Let's understand the typecasting with an example, and how when you use it in a correct way, how beneficial it is, and when you use it in a wrong way, how you will lose the data or some inconsistencies will come. So I want to get some value which is present on my HTML page here, and I just want to create a text box here. So let's quickly do that. So I just want to create an input here in my HTML. The type of that I want to keep as text. The ID I want to give input 1. That's it. And the value inside this, I just want to put ABC. Let's see my HTML. It's visible. Yes, it's visible, and we're able to see that. Very perfect. Now, this particular HTML element, this particular HTML input element, I want to access in my TS file. Yes, of course, we can do that. So let input, so document dot get element by ID. We want to get element by ID. And what's an ID of my element? Input element, input 1. So perfect. So I'm getting my input 1 over here. So inside this input 1, whatever the value is present, that value I just want to console. That's what I want to do. Input dot value. As soon as I do this, I'm getting some error here. What is that? It is saying that this particular value is not available on the type HTML element. So it's saying that it's not available on HTML element. So what we can do for that? So this particular value is only available on HTML input element. It's not available on HTML element. So we need to do a typecasting here. So for that, we need to write here as HTML input element. Let me just keep it down so that you can understand it. Okay, fine. So hope it's visible now. So we are forcefully converting this HTML input, HTML element inside an HTML input element using a typecasting here. And now the error gone because this value is available inside HTML input element. And now if I just see the output, I should be able to see in console ABC, but we are not getting it. What could be the reason? Let me show you both files, and now you try to troubleshoot what the error is. So here we are trying to get input 1, converting as HTML input element, and just trying to have the value of that particular input inside my console. Inside my HTML, the script file is very well connected. The compilation is also happening very correctly. Let's verify. Yes, compilation is also happening. And we are also having our input HTML input element very well with the correct input, and the values also present there with ABC. But why we are getting this error. The error is saying that cannot read the property of null on line number 5. It's saying that cannot read property null of value on line number 5. It is saying that it is not able to detect the input element in your HTML. What could be the reason? I'll just pause for a minute so that you can think on it and find the solution. Yes. So what's the reason here? So we are executing our code before the execution of this particular HTML input. And that's the reason we are getting this error. So we just need to move this scripting code at the end. So the HTML file executes in sequential way. So first this is getting executed and our browser knows that there is something called input 1. And after that, these scripts are getting executed where we can get all these values and everything will work smoothly. Let's save all the files and see the output. Getting it very perfect way, ABC. Let's try to change this value ABCDE. Getting it in console? Very perfect. Now we'll try to understand how it will be a bit trouble when we are using the typecasting in incorrect way. Right now, this input 1, we know it's a compulsory HTML input element. That's the reason we are doing a forceful conversion. But what if by mistakenly instead of this ID input 1 mentioning here, I'm mentioning over here. From the HTML syntax, it's perfectly fine. I have given an ID called input1 to my heading. That's not looking a bit correct here, but syntax with the syntax perspective, it's very correct. And what's happening when my TS file is trying to read the input1? What is coming here? It is coming this h1, which is not an HTML input element, but we are forcefully converting it to an HTML input element. And let's see what happens in my browser window. So I'll just take a pause for a minute so you can think on it, what will happen, or you can try on your own. So let's see what's happening in the browser. So the browser says undefined. Of course, because when we are saying input, it's a normal HTML element. We are forcefully trying to convert to the HTML input element, and on that the value is not present. That's the reason it is giving an unexpected behavior. So that's the reason when we are using the typecasting, we should be more cautious and we should be much more confident on the type conversion we are doing. Is it correct or not?